Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Welcome to the evening's most electric live event, the one and only evening therapy session, brought to you by the Fearless Podcast and co-hosted by our very own Ronin Travelers. You know, when these two powerhouses join forces, the conversation is going to be exciting, informative, fun, and oh yeah, blunt as ever, no holding back tonight, folks. And tonight, we got a special guest who's going to bring the fire. We're talking about the one and only Todd Allyn. This guy isn't just a life coach. He's a seasoned professor with over 24 years of experience in business and economics education. He's been a college dean, a program manager, and get this, played a major role in launching the Jack Welch School of Management. If that ain't impressive, I don't know what is. Todd is the founder of Happyosity, a revolutionary coaching program that blends positive psychology, neuroscience, and personal development. This ain't just feel-good stuff, people. This is science-backed transformation to help you achieve life balance, mental resilience, and high levels of success. Tonight, he's here to unlock the secrets of why having it all doesn't always mean true happiness. So, if you're wondering why despite all the money, cars, women, and so-called success, you still don't feel truly fulfilled, well, my friends, you come to the right place. Get ready to dive deep into what's holding you back and learn how overcoming those limiting beliefs is the key to unlocking a life of joy and prosperity. Buckle up and settle in. It's time to turn knowledge into action, build your legacy, and live a purpose-driven life. Don't miss this chance to catch Todd Allyn in the flesh right here on the Evening Therapy Session, Episode 2. The mic's about to drop, people. Let's go.
Hey, welcome to the show tonight. We got somebody special that's coming up for us. We got Todd Allyn in the back, and he's going to tell us how to be happy. I've had it. Money, hoes, and clothes is all a brother knows. I've had it all. The money, the cars, the clothes, the income. But did you ever feel empty inside after you had all of those things? And you wonder why? I recently heard a story of a guy, and he said that him and his wife were together. It was their 1-year anniversary. They didn't have any furniture in their house. And he said, we really need a couch. And she said, we really need a vacation. We really need a couch, but we really need a vacation. He said that after much debate, he decided, let's go on vacation. They went on vacation, had a great time. 6 months later, they bought that couch. He said 20 years later, he can't remember what the couch looked like, but he could remember that vacation. So sometimes memories are much better than the money and things we have. But do you want to know how to be happy? Or do you want to know also why the things you get aren't making you happy? There might be a reason to that. And it might be a science to that. Without further hesitation, let's bring up the people in the backstage and discuss some of this. Todd, welcome to the stage, my brother.
Hello, how are you, Fearless? What's going on,
Fantastic.
brother?
And Ronan, I'm going to bring you up momentarily. I'm just going to let Todd introduce himself and tell us exactly what this brother does.
My name is Todd Allyn, also known as Professor Econ. For the past 24 years, I've been a college professor teaching decision sciences, economics, and I teach economics from a different way. It's more of making choices and decisions. It's not supply and demand. I've never seen anybody go to a gas station and draw a supply and demand curve to decide how much gas they're going to put in their car. It's all about decisions, right? It's all about decisions at the moment. And so what I do is I help people make choices and decisions about how to be happy. Being happy is a journey. It's not it's a journey. It's just not something that just happens. It's something that you have to be intentional about. And so what I found in teaching for the past 24 years is that most people are unhappy because of 5 things: a lack of purpose, negative self-talk, unhappy relationships, comparing themselves to others, and chronic stress and poor life balance. And so what I do with my company called Happyosity is I help people to find life balance and overcome stress and to find success in 5 major areas: income, education, food, travel, and lifestyle.
I want to write those down. So 1 second, because I want to go over each one of those. Give me one moment. Let me get my notebook together.
You want me to go over them again?
Yes, please.
Okay. Income. Education.
Yep.
I said food, but I should substitute it for health.
Okay.
travel, and lifestyle. Those are called the 5 social determinants of wealth and health. And there's actually economic evidence to support that.
You said something, and I wonder. You said, I help people make a choice.
Yeah.
Is happiness a choice?
Yes.
So why is that a choice? So you think that the people who say they're unhappy, they have chosen to be unhappy?
In a lot of ways, people that are unhappy at a particular time, it's because of those 5 things that I said, that they might be comparing themselves to others, or they may have a lack of purpose. And what research shows is that when people are living their values, they tend to be happiest, even if they don't have higher levels of income. And the research also shows that a level of income more than $75,000 doesn't really move the needle that much. And so, when I talk about help people make the choices to be happy, there are tools and there are ways that people can use exercises to become happier. But a lot of that is just basically by understanding what their values are and living their values through their actions, combining their actions with their values. And that seems to help people find their level of happiness. And it's intentional.
So I've heard some women say, I'd rather cry in a Lamborghini than smile in a Corolla. Explain that to me. Because it seems like they're talking about money would just make them happy. And if you're going to be sad while being rich.
Well, a lot of times what happens is that, culture rules the day. And what a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of the thoughts or ideas that they have are not ideas or thoughts of their own. All men and women are born equal until they leave the hospital. And then when they go to different environments, they're imprinted by their environment, by the people that are around them. And so many of the ideas that they grow up with are not ideas of their own, but they're ideas of the people that are around them, their culture, the people, the lifestyle, the mentality of their neighborhoods, right? And so they may have gotten that idea from somewhere, but that has been imprinted upon them, but they've accepted it as their own. But if a person says that, right, they're putting the value on a car versus, or versus something else, that's called a hedonic adaptation. And what that simply means is that in this hustle porn culture that we have, getting more doesn't lead you to being satisfied. It just leads you to want more.
So has social media disrupted our lifestyle? Or let me put it this way. Has social media tainted our ability to be happy? Or has it made us want other things to be happy?
Yeah, it has caused some level of external validation. A lot of times people look outside of themselves. They look for something that gives them motivation in order to do something, as opposed to internal motivation or decisions that they make on their own. And that becomes difficult over time, because how do you sustain that, right? Because there's always going to be someone that has more money. There's always going to be someone that looks better. There's always going to be someone that has more than you have, right? And so when you're comparing yourselves to others and when you're in competition with others, you stop looking at how you can validate your own existence. At the end of the day, Fearless, this is what's going to happen. When we die, we're going to be forgotten within a generation, unless we do something to impact more people, to help them in their lives and to help them with their prodigy as well. So, if we're just looking for external validation, we'll be forgotten when we're gone.
Correct. Yeah, the last thing I've heard somebody say before they die is, I wish I'd have worked them extra overtime hours. Doesn't work like that.
Doesn't work like that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
if you're saying that wealth or income doesn't, and I know it goes to a certain part, why is it that a lot of celebrities, Robin Williams comes to mind, and other people, rock stars,
Yeah.
have deleted themselves? Because it
Right.
seems as though they have it all. They got the riches, they got the fame, they got the fortune.
Yeah.
Why would someone at that status not be happy?
Well, this is just, my own thoughts or my own opinion is that when we look at actors, they receive their fame because they pretend to be someone else.
Mm.
And so who knows who they really are, because they're very adept at pretending to be someone else. And so that could be a lack of purpose. It could be negative self-talk because they're so accustomed to being someone else. They could be an unhealthy relationships, toxic relationships. Again, comparing themselves to others, and then there's just chronic stress and poor life balance, because celebrities or athletes, many times they're away from their families or away from their loved ones because they're actually, doing their job, being entertainers, and they receive a lot of accolades and a lot of wealth for it. But who are they really? What is their purpose, right? What is their life's purpose, or why are they here? What aside from pretending to be someone else, what value do they give, right? And so those could be some contributing factors. I mean, I certainly can't speak, knowingly, but those are just some of the things that just come to my mind.
Oh, and this question just slipped my mind. Let me see how I can rephrase it. Okay, there's a saying that says, in order to have rainbows, you must have rain. So do you think in order to be happy, you have to experience sadness?
Yeah, in order to grow, there has to be some pain. I guess I was speaking to one of my mentors, who's a clinical psychologist, I'm sorry, and he said, many times in order to grow, you have to die. And he used the parable of the phoenix as an example, that the phoenix is a majestic bird, but what happens is that it bursts into flames and then it raises itself from the ashes again. So when we're talking about being happy, we do have to build some mental resilience, right? In order to move from one level to the next, because that's very painful. When we experience tragedy, when we experience malhappenstance, it's very painful. But if we are able to develop the resilience and develop the tools and the ability to last, and the ability to continue on, and the ability to live our values with our actions, we'll reach that level of happiness. As I said, it's a journey. It's a process. We can't be happy every single day, right? We strive to, but what's important is the journey, the understanding what makes you happy, right? And following those actionable steps to get to that place. Because as I said, we all experience hardships. We all experience trauma. We all experience a lot of bad things. Bad things happen to good people. But the difference is that those who are able to elevate themselves, are able to die and to be born again, will reach the level of happiness that they so desire.
And I'm not going to take up the stage. I just want to make sure I bring Ronan to the front, because I still have a lot of questions, but I don't want to just drill you with them.
Not a problem.
And I'll ask a question, and I'm still going to let Ronan go.
Yeah.
And I ask this because, some of the things on there were travel, lifestyle, education. But do you think that you can't have that all the time? Meaning it's only going to make you happy if you can experience it sometime. I'll take every example. Income. If you have all the money in the world, you really don't know the tragedy to get there, so you're not happy with the money. If you're traveling, the guys say, hey, man, I want to go to this country. I want to go to this country. And it's great to visit because you go there and you get to experience things from an outside world. But it's entirely different than when you live there. So do you think that in order to be happy, you just need things temporarily? You get a new car and it's great, when you first get that new car, but then we went to that next new car. So is our happiness only temporary for a while? And the other question, lasting happiness, but if that's the case, then why does society promote that as the goal you should have? And you can go, Ronan.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let him get this one, and you can.
You just firing all these questions up.
Right. I'm trying to remember. In training, Ronan, they told us to answer the first question first, correct? So the answer to your first question is that why is it not lasting? Why is it or is it just temporary? I would answer the question this way: be happy. Okay, you mentioned it at the very beginning, where the husband and the wife, the wife wanted the couch, the husband wanted the couch, the wife wanted the vacation. Let me make sure I get that right. Because again, I mentioned the hedonic adaptation. It's always, and I call it hustle porn, always trying to get that next fix, right? And so when you're always trying to get that next fix and you're not satisfied with your life, you're going to be happy in spurts, and for the majority of the time, you're going to be unhappy. Why? Because you're always seeking that next fix, so to speak. So is happiness a drug? Yeah. I mean, there's all those things that come into play, and that's from the neuroscience aspect of it. So, we are physical beings that have, I see it.
Dopamine, adrenaline fixes.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we're a series of chemicals, right? And a lot of that is we look, for example, kids today love video games. And if they're not playing video games, they're watching video games on YouTube. Why? Because the dopamine levels in their brain are excited. It's high. It's very high. And they're looking for that dopamine fix. Are they happy all the time? No, because when they're not looking at video games, they're miserable. They have anxiety, they have temper tantrums, all these different things. And so adults have the same thing, but it just shows up in a different form. We sometimes say, angry black man or angry black woman could be attributed to a lot of that because of the level of unhappiness. You also mentioned, why are we not always happy, or is it just temporary, or should we? I got lost in the sauce there. Help me out.
No, my question was, if that since it is not everlasting, why does society promote that as the ultimate goal? To be wealthy.
It's cultural. It's not in all societies. There's some societies that teach they teach family first, right? Family values. Because I think that wealth, or the type of wealth that we're talking about, is a very westernized ideal, right? Some cultures value community. And if we're talking about longevity, having a strong community helps people to live longer. And we've got examples of that in blue zones or in Okinawa and those kinds of places where it's the community in which you live and operate. So I think a lot of that becomes very, very cultural. We measure our success with the number of toys and things that we have, but we never can leave this existence with all that. And at the end of the day, if we are a jerk with a lot of stuff, when we die, we're still a jerk that left a lot of stuff.
Correct.
All right,
So,
then I gotta ask you.
No.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Here, please. All right. So, you talked about dopamine and adrenaline, and that can be infusion for temporary happiness. And some of those examples that you guys brought up earlier was income, health, traveling around. Society's teachings keep you wanting that dopamine adrenaline fix. That's how they keep you working, keep you pushing, wanting you to drive, making more income. But as we know, as travelers, there's so many other cultures that are so much happier with less because they weren't pushed into that system that we're in, that more means happiness when it really doesn't. There has to be a point where you have to have internal peace. Because in the military, we were taught to compartmentalize our issues. This is what society is doing right now. They're compartmentalizing their issues for temporary fixes of what they perceive as happiness through
Right.
success of income, travel, the things they buy. All these things are fixations, but they're all temporary.
Mhm.
So we're walking around with this fake veil of success when our true success is in here,
Yeah, and that's
our
your
internal
personal
peace
value.
and satisfaction.
Yeah,
So can you speak to that for a little bit?
yeah. Again, it goes back to personal values. Scientific evidence shows that when people are living their values, and when I say living their values, what's most important to them, but with actions and intention, right? When they're living their values, I'll give you an example. As I said, I've been a college professor for over 24 years, teaching in economics and business. And the way I teach economics is I teach it very differently from a choices perspective, not just your what traditional economics, but from personal values, etc. So it came a point after the pandemic that the college decided that they wanted to change policies and make it illegal for me to live with my family and still work with the college. So the choice was leave my family to work for the college or be with my family and leave the college. I chose my family. They separated service. I'm happier. Why? Because I made the choice that my family's most important to me. And why did I do that? Because I was looking for a job when I found that one. And you and I had this conversation, Ronan, and you are absolutely right. The value that I have is the value that the college wanted was me. And so I took me with me. So I still have the same value. Now I can use this value to help others outside of that system. Instead of helping 100 students a year, I can now help thousands of people around the world because I'm no longer that circus animal. And so I'm happier now because I'm living my values. I'm living with my loved ones, doing the things that I enjoy. And so that's, for me, that's what happiness is. But, and so a lot of people may be in a similar situation where they have to make tough choices. And it's uncomfortable having to make those tough choices. But if you make a choice that's outside of your values, outside of who you truly are, you'll be miserable.
And I just want to follow up with that real quick, and then Fearless, go ahead. What you're basically saying is there's a false sense of perception on who you are as a value to yourself and to the company you work for. Understand that you are the asset. The company is leveraging your talents, your information, your knowledge, your ability for money.
Yep.
So when you step away, if they don't find the most talented person to replace you, yes, they can replace you at any time, but will it be at that same level of
Absolutely.
performance, knowledge, experience, and all those things? So when you free yourself of the opinion of wanting to work for somebody except for yourself, you start coming into the realization that you were the talent.
Yes.
It wasn't a company. You represented the company represented your talent.
Yes. It was John Paul Getty said that I'd rather have 1% of the efforts of 100 people than 100% of the efforts of myself, meaning that companies leverage their employees. But what I've also come to realize is that the most important name on any check is yours. And so, although we say that we work for a company, the truth is you work for yourself and your family.
Correct.
And you can decide in what realm or in what area you want to do that, whether you are an independent contractor or whether you're an employee or whether you're a business owner. I mean, that's your choice. And, it's simple. It's just not easy. It's simple. It's just not easy. But once you make that choice, once you make that commitment to yourself, whatever it is, you'll be a lot happier when you align your values with your actions. 100%. And one more note. When we talk about money, especially in the United States, or the value of money, it has intrinsic value. It's pieces of paper. So what's the real value? Is it the pieces of paper, or is it you as an individual, as a living, breathing image of the Most High? It's you. Right. You are the thing of value. And so every politician, every person that wants to be in power, they want to control not the money. They want to control the people.
All right, I got a question for you because my wife made an observation today. Though she doesn't work in
About
this
you?
No, about someone else. Maybe
Oh.
they're actually probably typing in online. So I don't want to say a name, but are there some people who just enjoy the drama? The drama makes them happy, meaning they can go all the way to another country, spend all their time instead of enjoying their vacation, arguing with people that's not even in the country, and then spend 6 hours making a live stream
Yeah.
about people that don't do it. But that putting that in that situation makes them happy. So there's some people that feed off of other people's unhappiness, or does it the fact that maybe they're not happy makes them happy? Or
Yeah, absolutely.
explain that to me.
Yeah, and again, we go back to dopamine levels. We go back to the different pleasure centers of the brain. Because a lot of times people do that to kind of make themselves feel superior. They do that because they get a dopamine rush, right? Or they do that because by irritating someone else, they get some level of satisfaction for it. And so it's a very egotistical way of going about life. But yes, there are people that love the drama. They look for problems. They don't look for solutions. They look for problems.
And I see that at the highest level. Like we take like Trump. He gets a kick out of if I can put you down, if I say something that degrades you. It's almost like that's a power thing to him. And I always wonder, why is it that people find superiority, and it doesn't seem like they're happy. They're happy that you're sad, or they don't have internal happiness. And I just I don't understand how that fits into, like your thing to say, hey, I want to be happy. And even if I'm looking at your 5 steps,
right,
it's not income, that's not education, health, travel. I guess lifestyle may fit in, but that just seems to fall out of the whole parameter to make someone happy.
You're not a narcissist. And so that's why you don't. Only other narcissists may understand that, right? So, there are narcissistic people. There are people who enjoy hurting other people, and they enjoy it for whatever reason. I mean, again, when you're dealing with narcissists or when you're dealing with people that gaslight other people, it's a feeling of superiority. And they want to elevate themselves because they may have low self-esteem, because they're comparing themselves to others, or they are envious of someone's lifestyle, so that they want to put that person down and make it seem like it's less important. It's very, it's sad. It really is sad, but that is the way that some people go about trying to find their own happiness, is by hurting others.
I know that you said when we leave the hospital, everyone is the same.
No.
But is happiness determined by our genetics versus external factors?
That's a good question. What I said was that all men and women are created equal until they leave the hospital. And then they go and they're programmed by their environment. And so the Jesuits said, show me the boy at 7 and I will show you the man, because the child is being imprinted by thoughts and values and beliefs of their environment when they leave the hospital. And so do genetics play some role in a person's level of happiness? I can't speak to that at this particular point in time. I'd have to basically research that. I'm gonna write that down because I thought that was a great question. But I do believe that our programming does have a lot to do with it, because how do we define happiness, right? In many instances, happiness as a definition is given to us based upon our culture.
And I do agree with that, because I remember going to Jamaica and I stayed with a guy who basically lived in a dirt floor shack, and he smiled every day. It was like those things that we put a lot of emphasis on. he just didn't put those emphasis on it, and he seemed to enjoy the moments. And I think we don't do that. And if I can find this, I'll do it when I let Ronan talk. There was Andrew Tate had said something, a story that you probably heard, I thought was kind of told about happiness. But one other question I have is, how can I put this? It is often said someone else can't make you happy. Like, oh, that person makes me happy. Is that true? Or is it I have to be happy within myself? Or can somebody make me happy?
Someone can contribute to things that you like, that make you happy, but a person in and of themselves can't make you happy. It's still a choice, right? So the idea of, sometimes we're in relationships and a person says, well, that person just doesn't make me happy. Well, that person's not responsible for making you happy. You're responsible for your own happiness.
Correct.
And so, I mean, why would you put that kind of pressure on someone to say they have to make you happy? Because you can change your mind at any moment, right? Today you like vanilla ice cream, tomorrow it's chocolate. But if that person can't read your mind, then then they make you unhappy. And as I said before, some people, because of trauma or because of some experience that they've had, it's very challenging for them to be happy. When they are happy, they think something's wrong, or they go look for something that will validate them thinking, okay, I knew this was going to happen. And I've had those experiences before, being in a situation where, people were happy, but then because they're too happy and everything was going too well, they need to go back, look for something, and then interpret it as being what, a negative situation. And so, they don't believe that they deserve to be happy. And that's part of it as well. Forgiveness is part of it. Sometimes we are unhappy with ourselves because of something that we've experienced. And if we don't forgive ourselves for that, we tend to punish ourselves for the rest of our lives.
True.
I agree. I think somebody put in, what are your credentials? And I'm sorry to throw you off.
No worries.
What is it that allows you to tell me, and I'm saying this kind of rudely, I apologize. What allows you to tell me how I can be happy? What credentials do you have or that you've studied to say, hey, I can coach you on how to be happy? Right.
Aside from the academics, aside from the certifications in neuroscience, aside from the certifications in positive psychology, aside from the certifications in economics, Agile Scrum, OODA Loop, aside from those certifications, studying neuroscience as a doctoral candidate, aside from doing all those things, my own life experiences, right? Everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has some life experiences that they can share. And, having been on this planet for, would be 62 years in November, I think that some of my experiences or some of the things that I've learned that have helped me to overcome, along with the academics, I have some things that I can help people. I can't help everybody because everybody doesn't want help, right? But McDonald's isn't the only restaurant that sells hamburgers. So there may be some people who could resonate with me, resonate with my story, and I can help them. And that's the legacy that I want to leave. If I can help more people to obtain the things that they want in life, then I will be remembered longer than one generation. And that's my goal.
Is happiness an individual thing? I say that because you said you were in academics. So one student gets an A- and they're unhappy. Yep. The other student gets a C+ and they're extremely happy. Mm-hmm. So is happiness just an expectation? Is it different? And I want to say different for each person to person, but what makes the one guy unhappy and the other guy happy when it seems it would be the reverse?
Perspective and expectations. Sometimes if a student expects an A and they don't get an A, then they're unhappy with their performance. But, they don't realize, and this is just, again, I'm not attacking the education system, although it needs to be attacked. There's some things called grade inflation, right? It was Dr. Arthur Wentz, who was the head of the finance department at the university that I was attended, said something to me at one time that really helped me. He said, "It doesn't matter what grade you get as long as it was earned."
Mm.
And true education happens outside the classroom. It's the class outside of the class. It's the hands-on, the OJT, right? So if a person has a degree, it doesn't make them an expert unless they have those experiences. And the experiences make you an expert.
So let me add to what you just said. While you've been talking, I put up a simple poll, and I'm going to close this poll out and do something else based on our conversation now. But the poll said, "Do you have trouble with staying happy?"
Trouble?
Trouble with staying happy. But hold on. The answer in the poll, out of the people that answered, 44% of them said yes. 56% said no. In their own perception, how did they know that they're not happy or happy? Because a lot of people have this false sense of happiness. So while they're in denial, they think they're happy, but they're really not.
Yeah.
So how does that person identify within themselves? You know what? I got a problem, and I'm not really happy.
Yeah.
And to just add on to that, Ellis Dura said, "My bills and my job dictate my daily mood." So compound with that. How do you know you're happy? If I was happy this morning, the bill came, now I'm not unhappy, and now my job made me happy.
Right. In that it's part of our conditioning, right? As long as our bills are paid, and it's a weekend, I'm happy. And then Monday morning is a time where most people suffer heart attacks, is on a Monday morning when they got to go back to the job. It goes back to our conditioning. Self-awareness is extremely important. And people can lie on a poll, they can lie to someone else, but they cannot lie to themselves when they're really introspective and look within themselves and ask themselves, am I happy? There's a technique called Ichigai. And Ron, may be familiar with Ichigai.
I actually brought it up in a panel before. It's something I follow because of Bushido code.
Yes.
In Japan. So go ahead.
And so with Ichigai, it's a level of self-awareness that you ask yourself some questions, and you can find your purpose somewhere in the middle of those concentric circles of the questions. And so that's a very good tool that I use in my coaching program that kind of helps a person to really uncover what their purpose is. And then there's also, I do a life audit that it's based on positive psychology. Martin Seligman, who's the father of positive psychology, came up with a questionnaire for PERMA, right? When that talks about positive emotional acuity and things like that. Well, I came up with something that's similar to that, but I think that it goes a little step further to kind of uncover someone's values. When people really find their purpose, what their why is, and each day they're living according to their purpose or according to their greater why, they find happiness. They find happiness. And is it something that they can do every single day? Well, they can be walking in their purpose or walking in their values every single day. But it doesn't mean that the emotions of unhappiness are not present, because sometimes we do have emotional. Yesterday was in the 4th anniversary of my father passing. Was I happy? I'm happy living in my values, but I was sad because my father died 5 days after I arrived here in Columbia, and I didn't have an opportunity to say goodbye or see him. So that's a regret that I have, but because of mental resilience, because of understanding of who I am and living in my purpose, and I know that my dad would want that, I'm content. If that makes sense, because when you're living in your purpose, it's just the air is different. I can't explain any better than that. It's just different.
I got a question around that then.
Yes, sir.
Is it possible to have happiness without purpose? Can you be rich, comfortable, and purposeless, yet still be content? I throw hardballs, man. You done stepped into the game.
I think that if a person, the biggest challenge that people have, and again, this is just my viewpoint based upon what I've read. At the end of life, if they have a regret, those are the things. I think it was I can't think of who was it that said this. I have a picture of in my Les Brown. Les Brown said, one of the worst things that could happen is that when you're on your deathbed, you have all these regrets that are around you, dreams that were not fulfilled, or things that you wanted to do in your life that you just didn't for whatever reason. So you could have all the wealth, you could have all these different things around you, but deep down inside, is there a regret that you have? And those are the things that haunt you on your deathbed, those regrets. And so I think that when you live your purpose, when you live according to your purpose, that you don't have those regrets because you've lived your life purposefully. And again, that's just my theory on that.
Hold on, we got a question that just came in to Darnell. My first super chat since I've been monetized. Thank you, Darnell, for being my first contributor to my channel. Can you explain to us the 5 stages of grief and its effect on our happiness or mood, and how to quickly move on to the acceptance phase?
Okay. I'm gonna write some notes here because I want to make sure that I answer this correctly. Okay. So the 5 stages. The first stage would be denial. The second one would be anger. Third one would be bargaining, right? Fourth would be depression. And then the 5th would be acceptance. And so what does that mean? Well, no, I can't believe this happened, right? Denial. I can't believe this happened. This, and then asking why God, why? Then, you go through the depression stage, right? I would depress. No, I'm sorry. You go through the bargaining stage, well, God, please, if this is, you want to bargain with God and these kinds of things, then you're depressed. And I went through these stages again with my dad passing. I was like, no, I can't believe that. I mean, I've only been here and I just left. I can't believe that my dad died. Then I'm angry. Why did it have to happen now? Just when this was happening or this change, why did it have to happen? Well, God, help me to, do this, and then I'll bargaining with God and these kinds of things. Now I'm just depressed, right? It's like, what now? Even though that my dad and I weren't close, that is a regret that I had, right? But then, you say, well, I'm the child. I'm not the dad. My father should have done this. My father should have done that. But, he didn't for whatever reason. And then, you go through the depressed because of that. Well, damn, I didn't know my dad. Am I more like my dad or not like my dad, or what's the deal? And then to the final stages, I accept it. I thank my dad for giving me life. I know that my dad was a good man, and for whatever reason that he had, some things didn't happen, but no man is perfect. But I'm appreciative that, I got a chance to say goodbye to my dad when I left for Colombia, and, he died soon afterwards, but, I've accepted that. And that's just something that I honor him by remembering the day and the month that he passed. And as I said, yesterday was the 4th year anniversary of my father's passing, but that's my way of kind of honoring my dad. You know, there may be this may not be a perfect explanation of the 5 stages, but again, what makes me qualified to help people go through this is I know how it feels and I've gone through it. And so I may have a tool that can help people to get through that. But I mean, I appreciate the question, and thanks for allowing me to, you know, just to go through that live on how it made me feel yesterday.
I want to play this because I think you talked about perspective, and because I always think about the age. I see sometimes when we do the drama shows, we get a whole lot of people watching because they just like to see the drama. And I always think, how did that make them happy? And I think it has to do with perspective. And this is what I was talking about when I said there was a video. So I want you to watch this and just comment on it for me.
Okay.
Chrome tab, share.
American businessman who's down in Mexico, and she's.
Let me start it again. Oh, come on.
There's an American businessman who's down in Mexico, and he's a Mexican fisherman who goes out and fishes, and he catches one fish, and he comes home. And the American businessman goes, "Why do you only catch one fish? That whole place is full of fish. You're a very good fisherman. You only caught one." He goes, "Yeah, because I like to just catch one fish, so I'm not hungry, and then I like to go and just chill with my family on the beach and drink some wine." And the American guy goes, "No, no, no. It's not what you do. You need to go out there and catch as many fish as you want. You just sell them for profit." The Mexican guy goes, "And then what?" He goes, "And then when you sell them for profit, you can buy a big boat." He goes, "Okay." And he goes, "And with the big boat, you can catch even more fish. And you can have a fleet of boats. And when you have a fleet of boats, you can build this huge company. You can put it on the stock exchange. And once you put it on the stock exchange, you can sell it all. And you'll be a billionaire." The Mexican guy goes, "Okay, well, how long will that take?" And the American says, "Well, that'll take about 20 years. The Mexican guy goes, "Okay, well, after 20 years and I do all these things, then I've sold my fishing company, then what do I do?" And the American guy goes, "Then you go and sit on the beach with your family and you chill with a bottle of wine." And the point is, you go through all that hell to end up exactly where you would have been anyway, just chilling if you're not so greedy.
What makes you happy?
What makes you happy?
I want to say it because that seems to be the American way.
Correct.
Go out, do all of this, and then when you're so old that you makes it impossible, that's when you want to do something. Right. Why do we feel that makes us happy? And I see it with people, and we talk about traveling. You're out of the country. I know people that say, "I'll travel when I retire," and then you're like, "Man, you can't get around those stairs you wanted to climb, you know, or you wanted to walk the what is it, the Great Wall of China, or you wanted to climb the Eiffel Tower. Now you're too old." Why is it that we take that long route to happiness?
I mean, I think the video explained it correctly. The culture, right? You know, this person was taught that this is the American. They call it the American way or the American dream, but it really becomes the American cell, right? The American nightmare. You know, here's a guy that wants one fish. I mean, why do people want more than one car? You know, if it's a necessity, it's a necessity. But you know, I haven't driven a car in 4 years. I walk. I'm healthier. I lost 40 pounds. No more gout, right? And so happiness becomes, as I said, it becomes a choice. It becomes intentional. And then what you find is that the things that you thought you needed to be happy,
you do not.
You really don't.
Mm-hmm.
When you find your purpose, when you find your happiness, when you find the things that you really like. I don't like big cities, but yet I live in Bogota, which is the capital of Colombia. It's one of the largest cities. I live in one of the barrios, but I really enjoy going to the pueblitos, the little towns where I hear the crickets in the morning or the roosters, right? Or you wake up to a sunrise over a mountain and you know, chase my wife running around in the fields and the meadows and that kind of stuff. I enjoy that. Some people don't, and that's fine. Some people like big cities. Well, you know, whatever it is that makes you happy, what you enjoy, because, you know, we're only here for a short period of time and then we're gone. Right. You know, and just like the video says, I do that for 20 years. And then what? Well, then you sit and you chill and have wine with your wife, but you can only eat one fish at a time. Right. I kind of want to go back where Daniel Elliott said, how quickly can you move to acceptance phase? That's a very good question. And how quickly you move really depends upon your own mindset, your own mental resilience, right? That becomes a very personal thing. For me, with my dad, I moved relatively quickly. Why? Because I had accepted the fact that my father had a stroke and he wasn't getting any better. And for me, the idea of my father suffering was worse for me, right? Because there was nothing that I could do for him. It was the same with my grandfather. My grandfather was, God and my grandfather were in a foot race, and if God didn't lean at the tape, he wouldn't have beat my grandfather, right? So, but when my grandfather died, it was. I got over that relatively quickly again because he was ill, and I didn't like to see him suffer. And so, from that perspective, I think your personal perspective and how you view the situation becomes very important as to how quickly you can get to acceptance.
I know there's some people in the chat, and maybe we don't have a lot of people watching, but there's a lot of people who are unhappy, especially guys traveling. So they're unhappy here, so they're leaving somewhere. But I think they're lying to themselves. But I also want to say this: you talked about dopamine and things making you happy.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, if I were to do drugs, I would need a little more to get happy, or a little, something to get me higher,
Mm-hmm.
that adrenaline phase. So is there a biological limit to how happy you can be? Does the brain adapt to levels of wealth, pleasure, making it impossible to stay happy? Like, okay, I think Deion Sanders said, all right, I could get one girl when I didn't have no money. Now I can get 7. And it still didn't mean anything. So is there adaptability to happiness? And is there a limit?
Well, I think that's a twofold question. As human beings, do we have limits? I think that we really have unlimited ability mentally. And there's a science called neuroplasticity, that the brain is able to adapt, right? And so because you have the adaptability of the brain to be able to adapt to multiple situations, your level of happiness is how can I say it? It's infinite, right? Your level of happiness is infinite as long as you're following your purpose. Your purpose can change. Your purpose today can be different than tomorrow, right? Or your purpose today can be different than a year from now or 2 years from now or something when you attain certain levels. But the idea again is that you have a sense of purpose. You have a why. You have a greater why than yourself. And I think that that's important. You mentioned Deion Sanders. And I think when you listen to him talk, he always talks about a greater why, because they always say, well, once your kids leave Colorado, what are you going to do? Are you going to the NFL? He says, I don't have a desire to go to the NFL. He has a desire to help young men become better young men. That's his greater why. Whether people believe him or not, that's up to them. But
I'm sure if the money was big enough, he'd move right on up.
Right. Yeah. And for some people, money is a motivator. Some it's not necessarily a motivator. But it really depends. How much money is enough? How much success is enough? Well,
that's interesting you say that.
Yeah.
Because in the financial world, I used to have clients. There were $1 million clients plus. And I used to ask them, what's your number? What's the number that's going to make you so happy you're just going to stop doing what you're doing and just relax?
Yep.
None of them had a number. And that's a shame.
I have a number.
I
certainly do. I have a number, and it's not as grandiose as a lot of people might think, because living abroad and travel is one of the things that, when we talk about social determinants, one of the things that as an economist I look at is the exchange rate between the dollars that the money that I can earn in and the money that I spend for my lifestyle. And you guys know that, sometimes I have a curfew, right? That I can't be up late because my wife wants to be home at a certain time. And I don't have a problem, admitting that. But, my wife makes it a point that we have breakfast together and we have lunch together. And so we went to a fish restaurant the other day. And my wife had mojada, I had robalo, and my son had pechuga chicken. And I mean, it was a very, very nice meal. Now, in the home currency, it's expensive, but in dollars, it was $45 to feed 3 people, and that included like 3 courses and dessert. I was ecstatic. Why? Because I was with my family, we were having lunch, and we enjoyed our time together. And that, to me, is priceless. And so what is my number? My number is the number that I can live comfortably, happily, with no stress. Yeah. And that's my number. And I would just, hope my goal is to
quantify that. Can you actually quantify that in an actual number?
Can I quantify that in an actual number? I can. You want it annual, or you want it?
Whichever way you want to say it, whether it's annual or a pot of money you have in retirement, you say I can live off the bonds or the interest rate or my investments because I have 5 or 7 different income streams, and they're all automatic at this point, and I don't have to worry about nothing. However you want to break it down.
All right. Well, I would just say this at the moment. Living in Colombia, if with an annual a monthly salary of $5,000, I could live comfortably. But that ain't my number. Because I'm still North American.
Right. Unfortunately, it's a hard habit to break.
Right.
Very hard habit.
My culture. Right.
Yeah.
Because my why is not just living for the moment. My why is to build generational wealth.
Correct.
So that number is substantially higher because I want to leave value, not just 1, not just 2, but 3 or 4 generations.
But is value in the wealth or the education you give your children before you leave based on your world experience that you're imparting in them?
Both. I agree with that. I understand that, but I think it's both because not only do I have to leave my kids with a blessing, I have to leave them with something of value as well. Right. Now, whether they blow it and they the crackhead boyfriend or the crackhead husband or whatever it is, that they lose it all, as long as I have something for them, I can leave this existence knowing that I've done what my calling and what I'm supposed to do, what the Most High requires me as a man to do for my family.
Correct.
Right. And that, I look forward to hearing those words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant."
Right.
Right. Yeah. So
I appreciate that answer. I really want to just say to QB Passport, stopped in just to support. He said, "Let's go." Appreciate your QB Passport for stopping in and blessing me with the $2 super chat. I just got monetized, so these are all great things for me to see because believe me, your boy's been putting in the hours to get there. So I really appreciate you guys showing up and contributing to the podcast and the conversation. Thank you.
And I'm going to bring QB Passport in this just as a question.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm going to say it, because I've heard him speak, and some of the things that he says is, the things that he's lost some weight. He's got his hair fixed. He's got the teeth done. And does that make you happy? And I only say that to say this. I have found that you are only happy if that is the reason. You are only as happy as the last compliment.
Again, that dopamine adrenaline
is you have to do something externally. And the reason I say that, Todd, is I've been the QB Passport in this sense.
Okay.
Where I've had the car, and I've had the girl, I've had the house, I had the motorcycle. And once someone sees it, then it's not new anymore. Then the compliment is no longer there because it's like, all right, you're there. Once you see that beautiful girl and you see her again and again, then for whatever reason, now she becomes, just a regular girl. So besides that, and this is what I worry about with QB. So QB, you may want to watch it. Are you as only happy as your last compliment?
Self-esteem is a challenge.
Yes.
Right?
Speak to it. Yes.
Having gone through screening evaluation process, the concept of low self-esteem is really foreign to me, because when you are trained to have a high level of confidence and the idea that there's really no limits to the level of success that you can have, the concept of low self-esteem slows you down. And living to look for compliments from other people is non-productive, because the only person that you really are required to live with is yourself. So, I want to go back because someone asked a question that says, well, is what are his qualifications, or is he just a passport bro? I'm not a passport bro. I'm not.
She's trolling you, but she's for real.
I appreciate that, because I understand that
Right.
Sometimes when people get on these different channels and they say different things. No, I'm not a passport bro. My wife and I call it like a semi-arranged marriage, because we have the same values and we follow the same belief system, and so that was the draw for us. And I also like the culture and everything else like that. So I came to Colombia. My purpose was to be with my wife. I had no interest in going from country to country, whoremongering or looking to smash chicks or any of that stuff. I never had that desire to do that. I'm not that good looking to a lot of people, and that's fine too. But I will say this though. I've started my workout program. I mean, I've seen Fearless as Guns. I'm like, okay, that's motivating. So I'm doing my 400 push-ups a day, 500 sit-ups a day, and jumping rope and getting back into the gym so I can look, halfway decent. I want to be sexy grandpa. That's my goal. Be sexy grandpa. And like you said, when you retire, I want to be able to and living in Bogota here, I'm living at altitude. I'm a mile higher than Denver, Colorado. So
wow!
It's like you got COVID every day there. If you don't live there, no, I'm telling you, I've been there.
Yeah,
and I walked up some stairs and I was like, oh my God, I got COVID. And it was that you just aren't acclimated to that.
Exactly.
That's insane.
So being here now, I mean, I'm running, I'm jumping rope.
You're running in that altitude?
Absolutely.
But he's acclimated to it. He lives there. Yeah.
But still, that's phenomenal. When you come back to regular sea level, man, you killing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the climate is very different. Right now it's October, so it's rainy season, right? It's raining. It rains in the morning and then it stops, right? And I like that. But I mean, I was just out training my soccer team, and I enjoy my soccer team. Why? Because I'm giving back to my community and seeing young kids laugh, giggle, and enjoy themselves with their friends. That brings me joy. I can't explain how happy that makes me feel. In the States, I didn't have time to do it. I just didn't have time to do it, and now I make the time to do it. I walk the 2.5 miles to go to the field carrying the equipment. I just enjoy doing those things. Why? Because I'm following and living in my purpose. I'm living my purpose, right? And that's what I enjoy. So, those who are watching live or those who will be watching, I mean, it's very important that whatever your purpose is, whatever your why is, that you find it. and that your actions and your activities on a daily basis are geared towards that. And that will give you, I guarantee you, and scientific evidence proves that will help you have a greater sense of fulfillment, well-being, longevity, and happiness. Guaranteed.
I agree. I'm giving a shout out to Darnell. I know that I'm always hard on Darnell, but there is a reason. And I'm going to say this to Darnell. Darnell may be happy. And I think sometimes we put our value on what is happy, maybe onto him. And that may not be it. Maybe, what he does makes him happy. Mm-hmm. But I think it doesn't come, and I think that's probably what other people do. You say, oh, well, if you want to be happy, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I think that's an issue that we have. But his goal is $1 million. And as long as I don't touch it, I put in S&P, collecting 12%. That's kind of difficult. I just read something on that before. That was what's the guy that always say save your money?
Not if he puts it in what I told him to put it in, and that's why he brought me up, because
okay.
I told him about a vehicle where he can
rule.
Yeah.
So if he makes it, you can. If you're doing that, you can live off of that $120,000 that you're gonna make every year. Just be careful with it. But I say this to say that, Darnell. Why? My question would be, why would $120,000 a year make you happy?
Because he ain't gonna be living in this country.
No, but hold on. See, here's the thing.
Man, let's be real. Anywhere we go in the world, we are already 5 to 1%ers, depending on how much income you're making here. If you can hold that number, you're already at 5 to 1 percentile in most countries that are a lower level that most of us are traveling to. Mm-hmm. You're in that 5 to 1%. So at 120,000, he's very comfortable if he's conservative in the way he lives. Plus, he's still maintaining interest bearing in those accounts that he's dealing with at 12% annually. Meaning, even if he doesn't spend the full 120,000, that's bankable.
Mm-hmm. Ronan, I think you missed the first 45 minutes of this show.
No, I did not.
Because my question would still be, yes, you did.
Be a bother. He would not be bothered
because
by income.
Here's what we talked about.
Stressors. What is the number one thing that most families argue over is money. So if you have a stable income, your wife will not be arguing with you about if ends are going to meet. Honey, why are you sitting around? Why ain't you doing nothing? Because we're making it.
But he doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have those things. And still, it goes back to this.
What's that crystal ball?
If you aren't, hold up. Let me say it. If you aren't happy already, all the money is going to do is acerbate it. That's why people who win a lottery 7 years later, after they spent all their money, they still not happy. So the money wasn't the thing. So I'm saying to Darnell, why is it $1 million that will make you happy? Because there still has to be something behind it.
Give us your whys, Darnell. He wants to know your whys. Why is $1 million enough? Are you going to have a life?
No, not enough.
To the money. What is your happiness threshold? What is your
We just talked about the things you have maybe not making you happy. So why would the $1 million?
By the way, I'm going to evoke your wife right now. Thank you, Yanil, for the $2 super chat. I appreciate you. Yes, I've gotten monetized. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Now that your wife's spoken, I see you've been silenced. Go ahead, Todd.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Meaning, if you aren't happy, and it isn't money, meaning Darnell isn't like broke. He's like, I'm destitute, I'm homeless, I don't have money.
Right.
So what does more of it do for him? Meaning and this is no offense to Darnell.
I don't think he's asking for more.
Would that make him get out more? Would that make him be less introvert? Would that make him make better decisions, when it comes to females? Or that just means he spends more on it? How does that affect his decision making? Because I think we start to have, and I think Zed said it, delusion. Maybe we have a delusion that money changes us.
It does change you. For the better or the worse. It actually opens up the door to realize who you really are. Because you have no limitations at that point when you have that type of money. At that point, you become truly who you really were.
Well, research shows that income greater than $75,000 a year doesn't move the needle to being more happy. So, having $1 million could be a goal or a mission, and attaining that mission gives them some level of happiness, right? Because it's a goal that he had and he attained it. So, I mean, I don't think that there's anything wrong with having a mission or a goal that, for the $1 million mark, because our society says that $1 million is the golden egg, right? Because everybody wants to be, quote, a millionaire. And then most millionaires say, well, I mean, you take two income, take a person making $2 million, say, man, I don't see how anybody making $1 million can live. And a person making $1 million say, man, I can't see how anybody making $500,000 a year can live. But the majority of people in the United States are making $40,000 a year.
Correct.
And they're like, man, I can't wait till I can make $1 million. And so it's this, as I said, the hedonic adaptation.
Right. It's
You
objective.
adapt to whatever income level you have.
Right. That's objective, though. And that's a perception that society dictates that here's the thing that you need to hit in order to appear successful to everybody around you.
Yeah.
But that's really not the number. That's why I always ask these millionaires, what's your number? I was actually taking a poll of everybody I ever dealt with as a client.
Mm-hmm.
What's your number? Some had numbers, some didn't really have a number.
Mm-hmm.
Some floated around, say, hey, it is what it is. I'm going to still make, and I'm in that mentality. That's why I call myself semi-retired. Because I'm always looking at angles. I'm always looking at another income stream. Yeah. I'm always looking at, if I go to this country, what can I do in order to generate an income stream, maybe even for her family, as a legacy for potential children that I might have. I'm always looking at angles. So am I truly retired, or am I having fun and making money at that point?
Yeah.
And when I say that to Darnell, it's not to put him down. I just want him to make sure that, because this is what I noticed with him, that he's waiting for that next step to find whatever happiness. That person that says, if I lose weight, I'll be happy. If I get the girl, I'll be happy. It's always that next step. And I don't want him to fall into it to say, when I make $1 million, I'll be happy. I want him to find happiness without any of that. And then it just is enhancement. It's that cherry on the cake, or cherry on top.
Right.
And I'm gonna bring you up. I see you, BMT. Give me 1 second. I do have one question, and this goes back to the narcissist. Todd, I don't know if I'll do it anyway. If you get a cheap hair transplant and start thinking you are a black Brad Pitt, what kind of delusion are you suffering from? So my question isn't about who she's talking about. My question goes to, why is it that someone who does not ever want to have any focus on their looks always feels the need to talk about someone else's looks? If I can put that person down, it makes me happy. So do you think that becomes reflective, meaning, projection? Do you think it's projection?
Yeah, I think that whatever one's self-evaluation is, it becomes uniquely theirs. Delusion is the closely held belief in something that is not based in reality. So if you're arguing with a drunk, who's the delusional person?
Right.
So, I mean, if a person thinks they're the black Brad Pitt, okay.
Right.
I mean, that's are they Brad Pitt? No.
Right.
Why would they compare themselves to do they have Brad Pitt's money or fame or job or any of that? No. So is that delusional? Yes. But is it my responsibility or job to tell them that they're delusional? No.
But on top of that, the person who said it is a person who always says, talk about my intellect and not about my looks. But when they talk about someone else, it's always projecting on their looks. So why is it that I get happy, not me particularly? Right. Why is my happy derived from
dopamine?
Putting someone else down.
A narcissism, right?
Yeah, we said that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I mean, there are a lot of different factors, and
you guys have heard you've heard the story, or the story about the tiger and the donkey's argument, right? about the sky is green,
Yes.
going to the king or the lion.
Yeah, why are you coming to me with that?
There you go. Exactly.
Tell the story, because I love that story. Are you familiar with that, Phil?
No, I think. Let me see if I can find. I think there was
Felix, you
one where
just
I had.
froze. Yeah. Okay, you back.
Yeah,
While you
give me
looking
one.
for it, welcome Black Man's Travel
Yes.
to the panel.
What's going on,
Brother
man?
is coming back out of retirement. He's home, settled in. I saw the meal he was sitting there eating while he was enjoying our conversation. I'm a little jealous because I still got to fix my own meals. But
Hey, what's going on, fellas? This is an amazing topic, man. I think this is something that needs to be had. We walk around too many times, too many brothers. I meet them domestically and overseas, assuming that they're happy, but they're really not. There's a lot of miserable brothers out here, not dealing with their issues and not dealing with their depression. We need to talk about that.
right.
And using their external things to satisfy them, either through sex, drugs, money, whatever. So this is a great topic, man. I think this is extremely important to talk about.
It's funny you said that, because right now I'm running a poll in my room and it said, what makes you happy? Income, success at work and home, looks, sex and relationships, traveling, or none of the above. Right now it's still running, but interesting that you brought those points out. But go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, man. I mean, for me, I've been traveling for 20 years, been to over 40 countries, and at some of my trips, man, I was depressed as hell. You think, I'm overseas with beautiful women, cheap alcohol, and sex all over the place. Sometimes I was at my lowest. And,
Right.
I could walk around and temporarily fake that I'm enjoying myself, but in the room, dude, I'd rather just sleep in, and I've done that plenty of times. So I think there's a lot of guys out there that's going through the same issues. Like, yeah, get your passport and travel, but what else? Like, what are you dealing with the issues that you're not dealing with? Because there's a lot of stuff that we choose to just throw underneath the rug and not deal with it, thinking that outside influence could make it better, but just temporary release it.
Yeah, because one of the things that when we travel, we're just there for a minute. We're just there for a minute, and then we're gone. And that's what many people attribute as the passport brother lifestyle, is that you go place, you're there for a minute, then you go somewhere else, and you're looking for that dopamine, you're looking for that quick fix or whatever. Yeah. But when you're a nomad, right? A nomad doesn't have a home. It's like Ronan. We talk about the warrior that doesn't have a home, right?
Correct.
And that's a sad state to really be in. Is you're a drifter, and the lifestyle is just that. It's a drifter's lifestyle unless you find your purpose. I want to give a shout out to Ace Live, right? Because he was one of the people that motivated me. He doesn't know it because we've never met. He's one of the persons that motivated me to even create a YouTube channel. But what I saw with Ace is that even though he was traveling from point A to point B, he had a purpose, and his purpose was to tell a story, right? And so when people find that, and then they're traveling, and then that becomes their purpose, that becomes their why, and then they start to enjoy doing that, that gives them the fuel or the motivation to want to continue. It doesn't mean that they're going to be happy all the time. Certainly, he's certainly not happy all the time, but I'm able to see from 1,000-foot level how his content, and like when he went to Haiti and he was able to find donations to kind of help the people there. That motivated me to do some of the things that I'm doing here in Colombia. So, you never know who's watching you. You never know what piece of content that you're putting on. And I'm speaking directly to you, Black Man Travels, because I appreciate, the content that you've had as well. You never know who's going to be inspired by your content.
It's funny that you say that, Todd. I came across this YouTuber. Mm-hmm. I influenced him in starting his YouTube channel. I had not a single clue. He actually did a video about me, and I'm like, someone sent it over to me, like, yo, I think he's talking about you. And he talked about how I present my information as far as encouraging brothers and everything else. But this guy's been watching me for a few years. I'm like, man, he created a whole YouTube channel, and he dedicated one video towards me, and I watched it, and I just sat there and smiled. I'm like, you never know who you're influencing.
Exactly.
And that's why you have to be extremely mindful of what you say and how you do certain things. And that's why being around Roland, being around Fearless, we're all about consistency. If I'm down, I could call Fearless right now, like, yo, I'm breaking down right now, man. I need to talk to somebody. I need help. And again, I'm going to be transparent here. I just lost my job as a VP. I have a family, I have a newborn child, and I need to figure out what I'm going to do. And as you know, right now, the job market is shit. So I'm constantly stressing, but at the same time, it's great to speak to Roland and speak to Fearless and have that reinsurance, like, brother, it's going to be okay. Yeah. And we need that. And I think a lot of black men, I'm speaking about black men because I'm a black man, we don't have that. We don't have that network of reinsurance, like, hey, listen, things are going to get better, because we're so taught to handle things on our own and be strong and, and all this stuff. Sometimes that's just tiring. Sometimes it's tiring to be strong and I got this and all that, knowing that, dude, you crying and breaking down in your car.
Yep.
So for me, it's just like knowing that I have that network of brothers that I could reach out outside of social media and have a relationship with. I mean, a month ago, Fearless came down and met me and my family. We hung out the entire weekend. His wife, my wife, they're hanging out. Me and Fearless working out in the gym. He's trying to kill me and everything else. But I'm just saying, it's just like, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, man. This whole travel space, manosphere space is all about cultivating relationships, man. It's not about constantly, black women this, black men that. No, it's like, yo, what can we do to uplift each other? Because we're all going through it. Yeah. We're all going through it. And there ain't no one person, oh, I'm fine, you're always fine. No, every day is every day is a battle. Each time you wake up, you're going to have a battle. You're going to have a battle with yourself, or you're going to have a battle with the outside world.
Yep. Yep. And that's important too, that you find your tribe, that you find those people that you can connect with, because relationships are extremely important. And when I say relationships, I'm not just talking male, female. I'm talking about relationships with people, with like-minded people who have your back, right? That they can be your support system and that it can encourage you. And, I want to invite you that, hey, put me on your list too. If you need to reach out to me or talk to me, I mean, they could give you my information. I could give you my information backstage or whatever. I want you to feel comfortable and feel welcome, that if you need to talk to me about anything and if there's something I can help you out with, man, because these guys, I'm available to you, because I know their character and I know what kind of people they are.
Yeah. And that's something that I think Fearless, Roland, myself, and other like-minded brothers that we try to build our platform around is to really encourage. I mean, it's great to get into these beef wars and these smoke sessions. Great. But a lot of folks right now are hurting, man. And it's like, try to play that tough role behind the computer screen, but you could tell they live in a miserable life. Yes. They're lonely. They're seeking love through prostitution. Again, guys, I'm calling for what it is. And it's just like, getting high. I've known several brothers already in the travel space who died due to poor health. Died due to drug overdose, like people who actually overdose due to drugs while overseas. I know a few guys who've done that. And these were the people that were not dealing with their issues.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Hey, do you want to go over Ikigai real quick and the belief behind it? But, what I know of it, and my code of Bushido, martial artist, and understanding what a Ronin is a wandering warrior that has no master. And technically, most military guys, once they exit the military, are exactly that. Mm-hmm. They are warriors that have not been deprogrammed, that are wandering around trying to find their reason for being.
Yes.
And it gets to a point where you have to start looking within to start specializing in certain things and refining things and going over it and perfecting yourself and certain traits about yourself. So it starts to do self-reflection, but it also extends out to just being, just being the best person you can be outwardly as well.
Yeah. And
speaking on that.
Yeah, speaking to that, especially to our veterans, thank you for your service and your commitment. And it's very challenging for them, as you said, to be deprogrammed, because they have been trained to do certain things, and we always revert back to our training. But one of the things that they don't train us in is how to be self-reflective and to know the value that we have outside of the military, right? And so with this Ichigai, and this is a tool that I use in my coaching program, along with other things that we can discuss a little bit later, is that, as you can see, what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs, right? And so you have these interconnected circles, and in the middle, you find the thing that connects all of these together. And the thing that I like about Ichigai is that it doesn't talk about goal setting. It talks about mission, because goals are temporary. Goals are steps that you take in order to get to the ultimate purpose, the mission. And so when we find out what our true mission is, what our true calling is, my true calling, my true mission is that I'm a teacher. A lot of people are going to say, well, you're a college professor. No, I'm a teacher, right? And that's what I do, is I help people to find for themselves, to think for themselves, and to make choices and decisions for themselves. That's what I'm good at it. I say I love what I do so much that I would do it for free, but I'm so damn good at it, people decide to pay me. And that's part of this too, what the world needs and what you can be paid for. And that becomes very important as well, because a lot of times, if we're not paid for something, we don't feel that we're valued. And being paid for something is a social contract. When people value something, they will give you something for it. Whether they give you their time, because that's when we find our significant other, they give us their time. That's the value that we exchange. So everything that we do is a social contract, because we're social creatures. And so when I talked earlier at the beginning, when I talked about the social determinants, income, education, health, travel, lifestyle, all of these things can be placed into this model with Ichigai.
Exactly.
And that's why I like this model, and I use it in my coaching program. The other thing that I use when I said Agile Scrum is this: when a person meets with me, if they're meeting with me in a group or meeting with me one-on-one, I have daily conversations with the person for 8 weeks. Daily conversations for 8 weeks. And here's how it goes. We have what your mission is for the week, right? And Ronan, Fearless, you understand project management, so I know that you're familiar with Agile Scrum. So
I'm a Scrum Master, my brother, so I do understand it.
So you
do that on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah, I was product owner and a Scrum Master. I got certificates in both. So the idea is, okay, we're going to talk every day, and it's not going to be hours at a time. It's just, okay, what did you do? What are you going to do in the next 24 hours? What did you accomplish? What were some of your drawbacks? How can we eliminate the things that stop you from attaining what you want to do? Okay, now what do you do in the next 24 hours? That's the accountability. That separates my program from others, because I'm an accountability partner, and I talk to you in this manner every single day. And that's how we're able to work together to overcome challenges. And that's how we're able to work together to find your purpose, right? And so that we can make actions and activities so that you can live your purpose. I think that my program is the best in the world, the absolute best in the world, because there's nothing else like it in the world, in my view, because no one else talks about scientific evidence. We show receipts.
I'm going to play this video, and man, my wife has been saying, why am I arguing with a donkey? You just don't understand how many days she say that. And she's like, you up arguing with a donkey. So if you guys don't know the story, I'm going to let this play, and you will understand who the donkey is and who the tiger is when we get finished. And Black man, this goes to you, because I'm going to ask you a question after this.
The grass is blue. The tiger.
Oh, I'm sorry. 1 second. Let me go back.
Reply. The donkey told the tiger.
The grass is blue.
The tiger replied.
No, the grass is green.
The discussion became heated up, and the two decided to submit the issue to arbitration. And to do so, they approached the lion, king of the jungle. Before reaching the clearing in the forest where the lion was sitting on his throne, the donkey started screaming.
Your Highness, is it true that the grass is blue?
The lion replied.
True, the grass is blue.
The donkey rushed forward and continued.
The tiger disagrees with me, contradicts me, and annoys me. Please punish him.
The king then declared.
The tiger will be punished with 5 years of silence.
The donkey jumped for joy and went on his way, content and repeating,
The grass is blue, the grass is blue, the grass is blue.
The tiger accepted his punishment, but he asked the lion,
Your Majesty, why have you punished me? After all, the grass is green.
The lion replied.
In fact, the grass is green.
The tiger asked.
So why do you punish me?
The lion replied.
That has nothing to do with the question of whether the grass is blue or green. The punishment is because a brave, intelligent creature like you can't waste time arguing with a donkey. And on top of that, come and bother me with that question?
So what have we learned from this story?
Thank
So
you.
I say that because
I had a better version than that kitty version.
that's all right. Black man travels. How many times have you argued about your wife being black? How many times you argued about your income, about your intelligence? And I'm not putting this on you. I'm putting it, when I say you, I mean me, myself. They were arguing with a donkey, and that donkey gets gratitude or they get acceptance from their crowd who feels this, they all donkeys. And we're arguing with them, trying to prove a point when we're intellectually not there. And it's like, why are we arguing with donkeys? And I think we feel bad because it's like, why these people don't understand? Do they not understand? And you're looking, and I like to go back. I know you guys go to politics, but I remember when George Bush and what was his name? Who was he going against in the first election? He was the vice president under Bill Clinton. Al Gore.
Al Gore, yeah.
George Bush said something, and Al Gore looked at everybody like, I know y'all listening to this. And it was like he couldn't believe that people would actually be following that. So that's that statement. But here goes my question to Black Man Travels and to everyone on the panel. Is happiness an evolution? And I ask that because if I look back on your videos, BMT, your videos from 3 years ago or 2 years ago may be different of what you're showing. It may be happy. And Todd, I want to ask you, is happiness an evolution? The same with you, Ronan. Are things that made you happy some years ago not the same things that make us happy today and tomorrow? And if it is somebody got stuck, have they just not grown? If they're doing that same thing, like that bully who was a bully in the 6th grade, and now, they're an adult and they still try to be the bully. And you're like, man, did you not get any type of growth? So I'll start with you, BMT.
All right. And just for clarification, everybody, I'm not the official BMT. I'm Black Man Travels. No, so it's all good because I don't want no problems. I don't want no problems, man. Yes, my happiness has evolved, man, compared to like even my traveling has evolved. When I first started traveling, man, I was one of those horn dogs. Like, man, you couldn't stop me from doing anything. Now I'm like, nope. I want to experience. I want to take everything all in. I want to stay sober, and it's just like that alone changed. So even my travel destinations have changed. I'm going to places where people don't go. So that has evolved. Now my happiness, yes, I'm not going to lie. When I come in the house and I see my son running towards me, I appreciate this now at 46 versus my first son at 28.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really take it all in. Like sometimes, even when I'm taking a walk outside, I'll take my earbuds off and just listen to the birds, listen to nature. I'll look up at the sky, look at the trees, like I'm paying attention what's around me. Old me, I'm listening to crunk music, man. You can't tell me nothing. I'm like, yo, I'm in my own little space. I don't enjoy being out during the daytime. I was a night guy. Now I'm a morning person. My day starts at 4:30 a.m.
Man.
So yes, my happiness, my thought process, the way I see things have evolved, man. And I can't relate to my younger self. Like the stuff that I used to do, I can't relate to that anymore. So I was like, it's time, my bedtime, man. I got to go. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That there is an evolution there of growth, right? And so, which again goes along with your purpose. Your purpose changes, especially as men, as we grow older, we understand and realize that our mortality, as we age, we're getting closer and closer. People that they want to leave that legacy, they realize that they don't have time to waste. And so,
your wife is over there messing with your router. You over there freezing up all of a sudden. I don't know. She playing with the wire back there.
No, I'm in my office, so I'm not. Am I good now?
Yes, you are.
All right, good. So so I just said that as we get older, we realize how our mortality, and so there's an evolution of our happiness. Is what makes us happy. What made us happy, or what we thought made us happy when we were younger, certainly changes as we get older, because we get into legacy building mode, and so in legacy building mode, we realize that we have to act with intention, and each day has to be purposeful, because each day that we waste is a day that has gone by that we lack building our legacy.
I agree.
Yes, I call the evaluation or evolving. I use a different term. I call it lifetimes. I think we live several different lifetimes as we grow, and we change careers, we change locations of where we live, we change in our experience in life and jobs and our experience with having children. I believe we transform, and I call them lifetimes. We have greater appreciations, and we value things a lot more deeply through the newer experiences as you transition from one lifetime to another. You know, at 56, I feel like I've lived 5 lifetimes, from my teenage years and then through my 20s and 30s and 40s. Each time I've evolved, I've changed my jobs, I've changed my direction. You know, I've gone from being in the military to running companies and working in corporations to owning my own business. To these are all lifetime changes and evolution. And each time you change, your goals and objectives should be changing as well. So then, yeah, you absolutely should be evolving or transitioning, as far as the things that you value then should be insignificantly different than the things you value now, based on your life experiences and everything else you've done. And I'm going to land my plane with that.
So what about the dinosaur? When I say dinosaur,
wait, brother.
Oh, I thought you landed the plane.
I did, but you still need to answer the question for yourself. You don't get to field questions like, yo, you need to answer the question.
Correct. I think it comes with priorities. I think as you grow, things that were important to you are no longer important to you. And because of that, certain things make you happy. And I think it becomes internal instead of external, I should hope. Meaning you wanted to do things to please everyone else. I want to look good, so this person does it. I want to look good, I want to do this. So it becomes you're trying to make every external person happy to like you. Mm-hmm. When you get to a point, you say, you know what? Now it's about me. And I don't care what the other people state, as long as that makes me happy. But what about the dinosaur? And the dinosaur, and I say dinosaur, the Al Bundys of the world. That's what I mean. So meaning I'm not happy now, and my only happiness is anything that happened a long time ago. Or, you know, and like the person on this channel, if you went back a year and you listen today, you'd be like, oh, this is the same. There's nothing that has changed, meaning they're stuck in this time warp. Why is that? Why is it the dinosaur person or the time warp person that's the only place they find the happiness?
I always say a lot of things, and I say people are doomed to repeat their life lessons until they actually learn them. So they get stuck in that eternal cycle until you finally realize, damn, I'm doing the same shit I did 20 years ago. I need to change my actions. You know, but I think people are doomed to repeat their mistakes until they learn from them.
Yeah. I think that people, if they don't sharpen their tools, if they don't continually learn new skill sets, then they're doomed to stay in the same place that they were. in one of the advantages that we have as YouTubers, as people that have social media, we learn different skill sets. I'm going to be talking to Ronan tomorrow. He's going to teach me the skill set that he has, that I can actually add this to my tool chest to make myself better. Fearless, you talk about this all the time, talk about people going and learning different skills as it relates to the technology world, the technology space, and how they can change their circumstances by simply having more and more information and more knowledge. And I'm sure that Black Man Travels, that even though, I mean, I'm sorry that you lost your position, but as we were saying earlier, you did not lose your abilities to, you can't hear me?
No, what we said earlier, we just talked about this. You are your own value.
Exactly.
Your company just fed off of you.
Exactly. And so, but you take your skill set with you. And as long as we continually learn, I mean, as long as we have the ability to continue to learn, we have the ability to grow. But to your point, Phyllis, and I had a very dear friend that was like that he was the Al Bundy, you know. Remember in the day he scored 5 touchdowns in a high school football game when you know, dang near 50 years old. No one cares, right? But it meant a lot to him because he did not sharpen his toolkit. He did not advance in terms of learning new things to apply to his life. And more importantly, he didn't have a purpose. He didn't have a greater why for himself. You know, he enjoyed a different lifestyle, you know, and God rest his soul. But I mean, but that's a constant reminder of, you know, you find people that motivate you in different ways, motivate you in ways that you don't want to live, or motivate you in ways that you do. And recognizing the difference is important.
And I want to make sure before, you know, and I know you have a time limit, before we get to that time limit, give me 20 minutes, because I want to talk about the solutions. We've talked about the problems, but I want to talk about the tools that you were saying.
Well, I've got time. My wife gave me liberty.
Then I got
you know what? Hey, listen, Todd, that's okay, because trust me, sometimes my wife will come out and like do the clock check, like, yo, you still going on? It's like, you need to end this.
Yeah.
So, hey, don't be ashamed of it, man. It's what it is,
no,
man.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it. You know, it tickles me. You know, like a kid. Oh, I gotta go to bed.
Yeah.
Fearless, I think you got an answer from Darnell with the $5 super chat.
Fearless, I don't need much to make me happy. I like to hear that. That is good. Enjoying life, living to work instead of working to live, not living in fear of losing my job because of, I think he left, company mismanagement or racist supervisor, or crap in a bucket black coworker. Freedom. Compound interest is the ultimate weapon. Harnessing this power is the key to happiness. I do believe in that, and I'll say this to Black Man Travel, since you brought that up, Darnell.
Man. I sat there and gave him one little lesson about interest rates and this, that, and he throwing it in damn conversations now. Go ahead now. Go ahead.
No, he should. And I say this to Black Man Travel. I think when I spoke to you before, you were saying how the person at your job, it was conflict. And I've seen this before where, this may be a blessing in disguise, because sometimes we take that anger home with us. We take that work home with us, and we don't realize how it's affecting our health just by dealing with that stress at work. And you can say, man, it may be stressful. You may have a temporary stress right now because of the situation, but the long-term effects of being away from that and finding something better is much better than you could ever realize.
Can I share something?
Yes, sir. Go
ahead.
Piggyback.
Fearless and I, we had this conversation when it happened. But on that particular day, I had a dream. I'm gonna share this dream with you guys, and you guys could probably tell me what it means. I had a dream, and it was a deep sleep, man. I saw an eagle, a giant eagle. The giant eagle was flying towards me, and I stood still because I didn't want to move. And when he approached me, he took his claw and put his claw on my heart, like, bah. And he brought his face close to my face and looked dead in my eyes. And the person behind me saying, "Do not move." And all I felt was the ego staring me down, like, okay. with his claw already in, like, across my chest, like he already got his claw in me. He let go and he stood next to me. And he flew away. Then I got up. And I was like, what the hell that's supposed to mean? I'm like, so the first thing I did, again, this is 4:00 in the morning. I jumped on YouTube. It's like, I had a dream of an ego approaching me and whatever. So I came across all these different videos, man, all these different meanings, but they all were pretty much the same thing. And it focused about being freedom. You setting your eyes on new things, exploring and all this stuff. Then guess what? 7 hours later, I was like, oh.
Yes, that's exactly.
And I remember calling Phil like, yo, man, I had a long talk with him. It's like, hey, listen, this is what happened. It's like, hey, maybe it's for the best. I mean, it's what it is. But it was just weird that morning I had that dream, not knowing that within the next 5 to 6 hours, I'll be let go.
Oh, man. You know, I'm getting even though you were working for somebody, you were soaring. You were flying high. You know, you had prestige in the companies you work for, respect. And when it flew and stared you in the eye and saying, now it's your turn to walk on yourself. And then it stood next to you once you accepted that, stood next to you, and then it took off and started flying, meaning you can fly as high as you want now with no limitations.
I put the quote in the chat because I couldn't remember it at the time that I talked to you. And it is, God, make me so uncomfortable that I would do the very thing I fear.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get comfortable in whatever position and we're afraid to fly. And when you say, well, I want to do this, sometimes it just comes at the right time to say, okay, I'm going to put you in a situation where now you don't have a choice. This is what you have to do.
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, now I'm seeing things so clearly. My sleeps are amazing. Deep sleeps now. It's just something that was, you know, at first the fear is there because, you know, it's like, man, I got all these expenses. I brought my family from the DR here. And one thing I have to say to this, guys, if your goal is to go find a wife to either be domestic or overseas, find a good woman that believes in you. That speaks life into you. That is so important. I used to hear this a lot, but until you're in that situation, you know, you got somebody, you got a friend or your woman that's speaking life into you. Man, listen, again, excuse me for my language. No ass, pussy, and tits gonna satisfy that. It is what it is, man. Because the thing is, it's get to a point where it's no longer about the physical. It's now, okay, what can you do to help me become a better version of myself? Are you believing me? Are you pushing me? Are you challenging me? If you don't got that in your circle, you better go out there and find it.
Yep. And I'm glad to see that Darnell has kind of reached that too, where he's saying that he doesn't have to deal with those certain things. So I think sometimes happiness maybe isn't having, maybe it's not having. And when I say not having, I mean happiness is not having the stress, not having the issues. The things that you don't have may be the things that are really making you happy, you know, and the fact that somebody can support you. You know, it would have been an entirely different situation if you came home and said, baby, I lost a job. Well, what we going to do? What we going?
Yeah.
I mean, it would have changed your whole mood. But you come in and somebody says, you got this. I'm all right. I believe in you. That takes you a whole nother level. That makes you happy because you know you chose right. And it takes your fear away. You know, when you say I had that fear to do something. No, I'm good now. I can be happy. Because if your wife says, you know what, I think I seen a quote where the guy said, where the woman would say, if we didn't have anything and we was living under this bridge, as long as I'm living with you, I'm okay.
Yep.
That's when you know it. Because that's as me, and that's our fear. Our fear is, man, what happens if I don't provide? Or what happens if I do this? But when you got somebody that's like, I'm on your side no matter what. All right. Shoot, I can do this. Man. Now I do have one question for you, Todd, and then I'll get to somebody in the chat. It's a twofold question.
Mm-hmm.
One was,
let me make sure I write this down.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
all
because
right.
he gets
You talked
long-winded,
about
don't he?
health. You talked about health and thing. So why is it a bad thing that makes me happy? Why is it me eating the bonbons and the honey buns, even though it's unhealthy, it makes me happy? That's the first part. And then you have a list of 5: income, education, health, travel, and lifestyle. I know guys that don't have an income, no education, unhealthy, don't travel, in a crazy lifestyle, and they kind of happy. Why is that? They have none of the 5 you're talking about, and they're happy. And there's
Okay.
people that are unhealthy and do things purposely to make themselves unhealthy and find happiness.
Okay. Bad things that make them happy, eating poorly, it's the sugar. It's the chemicals, right? It's their parasites in their stomach that are happy and makes them feel satiated. So it's something other than them that's making them happy, or at least telling them that they're happy, right? Until they're in the hospital and they're like, damn, I shouldn't have eaten all that stuff, right? When I talk about income, education, health, travel, and lifestyle, I'm talking about the social determinants of wealth and social determinants of health. Well, we talk about we need some level of wealth and able to sustain ourselves. And so how do we do that? Well, income is dependent upon our education, dependent upon our health. Travel could be not just traveling international, but going from point A to point B, right? And then our lifestyle. And all of that is, like just predicated upon our income level. When we work for someone else, they determine where we live, what kind of food we eat, what kind of house we can have. In many instances, what kind of wife we can have as well. Why? Because if we have a spouse that determines that likes to be a homemaker, then the income that we have from our employer will determine whether or not that can happen. If we have someone that wants to be an independent person, then the family's going to suffer in some way, shape, or form because of time constraints or what have you. So our income is associated with all of that in even our lifestyle. But if we work for someone else, it's all determined by someone else. It's not determined by ourselves. It's determined by the value that someone else places upon us. And as I said earlier, money is the value of money is what we place on it. It's intrinsic value. The true value is us. The true value is our ability to create. And what losing a job, and I understand that because being in that situation, having been in that situation as well, it forces us to really look at our talents. It forces us to look at the tools that we have, and it forces us to say, okay, what is it that I can do for my own benefit to give value to other people that they would pay me for? Go back to the Ichi guy. It's simple. It's just not easy because we've been conditioned to believe that we have to have someone else pay us to work in their dreams than to work in our own. And it's a matter of conditioning. And that's the toughest thing to do is to overcome your programming and to live a different lifestyle, different programming, a different course of values. I hope that helps.
Yes. Now, I know you said travel. There's people that never been out. And there's a question about the passport bros and traveling. Do you think that makes them happy? Because I mean, every quote unquote traveler or passport bro I hear seems to be happy. Even if something negative has happened to them, they never say, I wouldn't travel again. I lost money, I got robbed, I'm still traveling.
Yeah.
There's nothing that has stopped them from that happiness. So is traveling or the experience, or what about traveling would make someone happy? And do you think those guys that call themselves passport bros or blue book men are happy? And if so, why?
Well, anytime that you experience something different, you expand your mind, you expand your experiences. And once you go somewhere else and you come back, it's very different. It's very difficult to be the same person. Because once you expand your mind, once you see different experiences, once you see that the world is bigger than the one place that you grew up in, it changes you. I lived in Cleveland for a while, And I met some young people that that lived in Cleveland their whole life. They were 19, 20, 21 years old and never saw the lake. Never saw the lake. Now, that's traveling. They didn't want to travel from one neighborhood to the next. Why? Because they were in, some sort of social club gang, and they were fearful to travel across artificial streets that someone else owned and that they didn't belong to them, but they claimed their hood, but it belonged to somebody else because most people are renting, that didn't even own their homes. What kind of programming is that you have a person that lives in a city that won't go to another place where they live to experience the lake or the beach or anything because of some artificial rules? Now, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just asking the question. Living like that. Now, Blue Book brothers, Passport brothers, whatever you want to call it, are they always happy? No, but they're not the same person. Once they go somewhere and they come back, they have to be a different person because they've experienced something different and they have awareness that something different exists. Once you're aware, you're responsible for it. Once you're aware of something, you now are responsible for it, and how you deal with it, that's on you. Now, as Black man travels, when he was younger, he was a certain way. As he's older and he's been able to have more experience travel, he's a different way. All of us are the same way. When I visited Colombia for the first time in 2018, when I got back home, I had no desire to do the same things that I did. I was like, I experienced different beaches, I experienced different food, I experienced different cultures, different languages. I said, this is for me. This is the life that I want to live.
Hey, Todd,
this is the person I want to be with.
Hey, Todd, I was experiencing Colombia since 2015.
Okay.
I was doing some fuck shit, boy. Boy. Man, this is before. See, this is before you brothers start getting on these planes. I was like the only brother on the plane.
Okay.
That was 2015, walking around. I didn't worry about anybody trying to drug me. If anything, I was considered the exotic one back then.
Mm-hmm.
But now, after the pandemic, everything kind of changed. But 2015, oh man, Cartagena, Cali, Colombia, Barranquilla, Bogota. What?
Well,
man, that was my playground.
But just because I didn't travel didn't mean that I didn't have experiences from other countries. I'm just putting it that way.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's different. Once you experience a different culture, once you know that there's a different way of life, it changes you. You can't be the same. If you're the same person when you've had those experiences, that says more about your character than anything else.
Yes.
Yeah. And I agree. It's like traveling around the world. Fearless and I, we met in Cuba, we met in DR. Hey, did we meet anywhere else, Fearless? Cuba, DR,
Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah.
Well, actually, like a frat brother, man. Is it frat?
Who?
Are you frat?
Oh, nah, man. Nah. I'm just canal. But I'm a one-man army, man. I could go out and turn up by my damn self, man. But it's just having the opportunity to go out there to these countries and experience for what you never experienced in the past. You do grow. It forces you to grow.
Mm-hmm.
You don't grow from your travels. I mean, you didn't learn nothing.
Right.
And even just recently, I just got back from Cali, Colombia. I was there for the Afro Colombian Festival.
Yeah.
I was able to take it all in. The old me would have just like, all right, ladies, go get drunk, whatever. This time around, I took advantage of the culture.
Yeah.
And at the concert, just sat there and took everything in, and it just like made you realize how beautiful the country is, how beautiful the culture is, and it's like, man, take this all in because at one point you may not see this again.
Correct.
Yeah. Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You learn to appreciate the simple things, and again, if it all goes back to your values. It goes back to your values. I have a youth soccer team here, as I've said it ad nauseum. And if anyone would like to donate to support my soccer team here in Colombia, feel free. But afterwards, we practiced early in the morning and then got into late afternoon. And one of the fathers said, hey, Colombia is playing Bolivia in a soccer match at 3:00. Let's go have a beer before Let's go drink a Corona before the match. And so he and I got a bottle of Corona with lime or lemon, and we just sat on a park bench and we just talked. And I'm like, man, how often can you do just that without being somebody bothering you or coming up to you or whatever? I can do that in a foreign country and just feel safe as can be. I really enjoyed that. I just enjoyed that. And I wouldn't feel safe doing that in places that I lived in the U.S. Not saying that places, that the U.S. is bad. I'm not bad mouthing my country, but I'm just simply saying different time in my life, I enjoy different things now.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we talked about all the things that would make you happy, but you said there's some tools and there's a science behind it.
Yes.
So tell me about that. Tell me about the science of making me happy. What tools can a person who is sad, lost my job, I've lost my girl, I'm overweight, I had a death in the family. What tools can somebody use to become happy?
Well, one of the tools that, and again, recently having had experience that I've had, one of the tools that my wife and I do nightly together is we either say out loud or we write at least 3 things that we're grateful for that day. And having a sense of gratitude is really centering. In having that is understanding, wow, we had this day. What are you grateful for? Well, I'm grateful that, my wife loves me and cares enough for me that she takes good care of me. I'm grateful that I'm able to be here and add value to my community by coaching kids. I'm grateful because my health, and each night could be something different, or it might even be the same thing if it's that prevalent. But going through that every single day, having a gratitude journal is changing, because you realize that what you might have thought is can't be corrected. You realize that you're really an amazing person. You are an amazing person, and that you can be very grateful for a lot of things. The second thing that helped me a lot is, and I'm sure that Ronan is familiar with this, box breathing. And so what do I mean by box breathing? Is that you inhale for 4 seconds, deep breathing with your diaphragm. You hold for 4 seconds, then you exhale for 4 seconds, and then you hold that exhale for 4 seconds, and then you do it all over again. What this does is it helps with your parasympathetic system, and it relaxes you. And so when you're relaxed, you're able to think more clearly. You don't have that fight or fright intensive cortisol level running through your system. You're able to lower your heart rate. You're able to lower your breathing. You're able to lower your anxiety levels, and you're able to think more clearly. So doing that for 5 minutes a night really helped me. So those are just two tools that have helped me reduce stress levels and become centered and have a greater sense of well-being and happiness. The box breathing, and also the gratitude journal. And one more thing about the box breathing, I have a very good friend who his sense of enjoyment is finding high mountains and jumping off in a squirrel. So, I mean, I think that there's some sort of mental illness there, but he enjoys it. Okay. But he's in some of the most dangerous places in the world. And he said, Todd, he says, this is what I do every time. I say, I tell myself, a sense of gratitude. I tell myself that I love you. And he says that I forgive you. And so he said this to himself while he's doing his breathing exercise. And it is amazing that when you're able to forgive yourself, you're able to clear your mind of a lot of things that are cluttering it. And then you're able to operate with a sense of efficiency. And I just gave you 3 tools there. And those are just 3 tools that you can do, that you can implement while you're sitting on the side of your bed at night. It's nothing, real hard to do. It's not like going to the gym, working out with you, Fearless. It's something that a person can do in a relaxed state.
Well, I think the person in here wants to hear Black male health, but so that will be next week, Zed. I haven't heard one specific question about Black mental health. I think, well, we've covered all mental health or making you happy.
But see, that's the thing between a woman interpretation of what men talk about. You're seeing in a men's space, and all this wealth of knowledge and tidbits and all these bars have been spoken in this room, and you heard nothing.
This is what you heard, brother. She's the donkey, man. Why are you arguing with the donkey?
No, I'm not. Believe me, I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing at all. But I'm just saying it's amazing how a woman can listen to a conversation spoken by men and hear nothing of positivity or anything dealing with what our issues are, because they're not listening for that.
You said a word there that does not translate into any type of Ethiopian language for her. And the word
we're not going to refocus now.
My thing is, why do you guys? But here's my thing, and I said this to you many times, Roland and Fearless. Why do you even address this woman, man? Just block her.
I address her to say this
because
it goes back to our mental health, because we were talking about. He said positivity.
Yeah,
we were
everything said was on point, but it's just like go ahead.
There's some people that no matter that they can never be positive. And the question I was asking Todd before was, why is it that some people find happiness in the negative and not in the positive? So I want to use her as a case study, because
she's not a case study. She is the case study.
Well, I can say insecurity, low self-esteem, desire for power and control, jealousy and envy, social validation, projection of personal issues.
And I say that Black Man Travels because we're in a WhatsApp group. And in that WhatsApp group, you hear a lot of things where it's just negative. And I'm like, bruh, I put a post in here that you agreed to this morning. I said, you guys are perpetuating this by what you say, and you're giving other people ammunition to do it, and they live off that unhappiness. So that's why I said, why are there people out there that live off that unhappiness? Not just her. There's people in our group that it's all about every negative thing they post.
And guess what, Fearless? And guess what I did? I sent Roland a message. Roland, what did I say?
Man, I'd have to go back. Come on, I'm old and I got PTSD.
I mean, okay, all right. So I told Roland I don't deal with fuck shit.
Yeah, you did.
I don't deal with fuck shit, man. If you're on that fuck shit, don't be around me. I don't want to associate myself with you. Dude, it's just like we got too much negativity around us as Black men than for you to take that and bring it to our own little private space or to your travel destination. I don't got time for that, man. I don't. So that's why like this whole thing about dudes going overseas, oh, I'm gonna pull up. I wish a dude try to pull up on me, man. Dude, we both going to jail, but you going to the hospital. It is like, man, listen.
Right.
My thing is this.
Go ahead. Sorry.
We created a space that was safe where men could come together and talk and break bread. Now it's become a competitive landscape where dudes constantly have to compare themselves on certain stupid things.
Yes. Absolutely.
And the thing is, you doing it publicly, giving other people weapon to use against you.
Yes.
Doesn't make any sense, man. Maybe I'm 46 now, so I see it as foolishness. But Todd, you could probably explain it better.
I would commend that to you. I mean, if you have a person that is entering into a men's space and they're being controversial, it's because they want the attention. Because they have low self-esteem and they want attention.
Absolutely.
The other thing is that, a person who is powerful and a person who, I'll put it this way, Dr. Miles Monroe, is a person from the Bahamas that I really admired and enjoyed his talks. And he said, one of the things that when the elephant sees a lion, the elephant says, "Oh my God, look, there's a lion." And when the lion sees the elephant, the lion says, "Run." Right. And so, being the king of the jungle, you don't always have to address less kingly things. And so that goes to what you're saying, Black Man Travels, is that, they're don't come to you with some things that are beneath you. And we don't have to lower our standards to put someone else in their place, or make someone else understand how powerful we really are. It's sort of like, from a military perspective, there's a reason why there are some countries that we just ignore because they're not worth the expense of fighting. And so we use other tools. We use other tools in order to get our point across. A well-placed missile through a door, or a well-placed missile through a window. Only one, just to let somebody know, we see you, but we don't have to necessarily address you.
Right. And me and you talked about this, Todd. It was, you have to go into places in order to pull people out. Jesus was not thought of as some nice guy. He was a radical.
Yeah.
He hung around murderers, thieves, prostitutes. You get what I'm saying? But he pulled them out by the light of what he was saying and his examples. So sometimes you got to go into the den to pull out the ones that are looking for the light so they can follow you out.
Right.
Yes.
And sometimes that's the type of personality you have to have, and the patience level that you have to exude for people to come out of those spaces, to come somewhere where it's more reasonable and logical for them to follow what you're trying to teach them. But you got to go and pull them out first. And I know it's a struggle, and some people don't have the patience for it because they're preoccupied with us. And me and Black Man Travels talked about that as well. Some people don't have the patience because they're busy with other things. And some of us are chosen to go out and do that and pull them back into spaces where other people can actually talk to them and get them centered back and focused on what they're really supposed to do. We got a lot of generations here that are non-mentored by men.
Yeah, well, he also said that, there's some place if they don't accept your message, just leave and wipe the dust off your feet.
Exactly.
I think the politicians say it best. They say you're punching down. And I think that a lot of times that's what we do. We're punching down.
Yeah.
Where it's an insignificant argument that means nothing. And what I found is it tries to destroy your happiness. And Ronan, I think I called you on one of your shows. I said, bro, I can't do it, man. I cannot. And the thing is, I think we have evolved to a different space. And that growing pain is the difficult part, to say, hey, I'm ready to be happy. Because Todd, this is what I found out. A lot of people like you where you are. They don't want to see you evolve to that other scale of happiness.
Misery loves company.
Yes.
Yeah, and Ronan, you and I talked about this before. There's more room at the top than there is at the bottom, because it's less occupied, right? And it's just, it's challenging for us many times because we've been conditioned to be concerned how other people think and feel about us. But it's also very important to understand that a lion is not concerned with the opinions of sheep.
That is correct.
And Ronan, Christ knew who he was.
Exactly.
At all times. We don't know who we are at all times because we've been conditioned not to live in our purpose. Christ lived every single day in his purpose. And what does the scriptures say? We are to have the mind of Christ.
Yes.
And so that goes to mental resilience. That goes to understanding who we are. That goes to understanding how certain situations impact us. What are our triggers?
Right.
And once we understand that, then we can truly operate in a space that makes us happy because we are living in our purpose. And that's all my message is, right? Because, we have hard times. We're going to go through hard times. But if we understand who we are and we have mental resilience and we use the tools to kind of help us to center us, the gratitude journal to remind us of who we are, that's when we can actually grow and to be
I was going to ask a question, and then I looked something up because it just kind of blew me. My question was going to be, why are Black people less happy than whites? But when I looked it up, there was a poll that said, why are African Americans happier and whites aren't? So the question is, they were saying it comes with economic expectations. The happiness is gained through more than than culture, than money. But as we go back to our, if we talk about race, because it's all blacks on this show, how as Black people do you think that we are happier? Do you think that there's what will make us happy? What is our mental health to get us to be greater?
Again, I think I go back to the idea of purpose, and to the poll. When you have a strong sense of community, when you have a strong, I'll give you an example here. Being where I am, there are not a lot of people that look like me, and so anytime I'm walking around and I see someone that looks like me, we our eyes catch and we acknowledge one another. And then sometimes we go up and we hug one another and just have a quick word, and then we just go, because we recognize that we have a commonality, and that commonality, that sense of community, gives us a sense of satisfaction, gives us a sense of belonging, and it's a sense of someone else sees me. Because we can go all day, and if we don't see somebody that looks like us, we can go unnoticed, and that has a debilitating effect on our mental health. Mm-hmm. And so in a lot of situations, if we're in an all-white environment, right, and then we get all these different questions, or someone wants to feel your hair and all this other kind of stuff, that makes you have a sense of that you really don't belong. And so that sense of not belonging is really debilitating. Other cultures, on the other hand, they may not recognize that, right? And so when they talk about why we might be happier than other groups, it's because we may have a stronger sense of community depending upon where we are, and sense of belonging and being part of a group, and having that sense that there's someone that can understand how I'm feeling. And so if I'm talking about something, they understand. Just like even Black Man Travels, that you guys are talking about something, there's that connection because you both understand where you are. And that helps us with our mental health. 56% of people experience some level of mental health issues in their lifetime. And so, it could be while we're younger, it could be when we're older. We all experience some sense of trauma in our lives, and that has an impact on us as well. So, mental health is a real thing, and we need our tribe, whatever that tribe is, to help us to navigate through it, so that we have a sense of well-being and mental health.
I heard a comedian say it, and I guess it was kind of funny. Like when everybody was losing their job, and it was like, well, as a Black, when you, and I'm sorry to disparage us, it's like, well, when you work in a $12 job and you just got to get a $10 an hour job, it's not that much of a fall. Everybody losing their job, but they're going to need fast food workers. So do you think that we're happier because we don't have that greater fall or that greater expectation?
Well, let's put it in financial terms. To go from 10 to 12, a lot of people think it's only $2, but it's 20%. Right?
Correct.
And so if you go from 12 to 10, it's greater than 20%, right? So, it becomes, so it's subjective in many instances, but it also goes to what a person really needs in order to sustain their life. Mm. And what happens in many instances is that if we have greater income, we have greater expenses, because we are trying to keep, we're trying to keep pace with something or someone, right? Some people like to get brand new cars every 3 years. Well, what was wrong with the one you had? Well, I just want something that's newer. Okay. And if that's what they want to do, I don't begrudge any man or woman, something that they want to do, but it goes back to what I said before. What are your values? What are your values? If you're spending money on this car, could this be a vacation? Could this be something that you all could experience? Could this be something that you could save up for your kids' college education or whatever? And we have, a lot of times we have people around us that can help us, but we are ashamed to ask the questions. When we talked about the gentleman here talking about 4%, we don't want to talk about life insurance because it's not really life insurance, it's really death insurance, or something that we can leave. But even if we knew how to manage just that, our communities, our lives could change infinitely from a financial situation.
Yes.
But we are ashamed to ask the question.
Yes.
Because we don't want someone to feel that we're stupid, or we don't want someone to think that we're poor, or we don't want whatever the idea is. We have to know who we are, and we also have to know that there are people around us with knowledge and information that can help us to grow, to be happy, to be healthy, to be self-sustaining, to be well-being, to be healthier, to travel, to create lifestyle. But we have to get over ourselves in order to do that. And that's part of that self-awareness that I talked about earlier. That's part of that values-driven lifestyle. All of it is connected.
I got a super chat here from Darnell Elliott. Thank you, Darnell. This isn't phrased to me. This is phrased to, I'm going to say the donkey. F it. I think Black Man Travels is trying to say, if you like petty drama, that this channel may not be for you. We uplift here and not tear down. And I think that is so true.
Well put.
That people, and I think he goes on, he says this, he says, save that ish for Cynthia G if you don't want to be crab in a bucket. Let's go back to here. Why is it that the uplift, anytime you watch a show, it's the drama, it's the bad, I want the good, to feel good. Why is it such a, and is it part of someone's life that gets you to that feel good? Is that we go to church to feel good. We go places to feel good. But some people don't want to feel good. Some people go to the places that feel the anger. So my question is, why do we dwell in that? And if I go to feel good for that happy place, is that still just temporary?
Well, I think it's important that we understand that our brains are wired for the negative. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to be wired for the positive because we're not trained to do that. We haven't been programmed to do that. And people, in my view, people who stay in the negative are agents.
Agents of chaos.
Agents of the Matrix. And the Matrix doesn't want their slaves to be free.
No.
At all. And other slave mentality don't want other slaves to be free. What, you's running to freedom? No, Master ain't gonna like that. He's gonna be angry. And so what has happened is that many people that look like us of the other persuasion are conditioned to be that for us.
Yeah, you just said something that I thought was so good. And I just looked this up because I think because I was going to go against you. I said, nah, that can't be right. What you just said about we're trained to hear the negative. But look at this. Look at this, guy.
And this is what I do, bro. Come on.
Academic study on the portion of hearing no versus yes versus toddlers. A toddler hears more than 400 times a day. Imagine how much negativity you're going through if all you hear is no, stop, no.
Wow.
That is training you. And if so now I understand when you say that you have a choice between the positive and the negative, and it's always the negative. Because if you're hearing no 400 times and yes 4 times.
And Ronan knows this from sales. What if you have the mental resilience to go through a no?
Numbers game.
It's a number. It becomes
you gotta take so many no's before you get that yes.
Exactly. And if you have the mental resilience to go through that pain of the no, that separates you lifestyle-wise from so many different people.
Yeah, because what's the number one thing people are afraid of? Rejection. They don't want to hear no. They always want that self-gratification of yes. By the way, thank you for the $10 super sticker by D Ward. You know, no shame in his game, just like you know, our boy unfortunately has suffered from cancer right now, lead attorney. You know, so
yeah, shout out
appreciate
to
your
him,
$10.
lead attorney. Yeah.
So what other type of people do you work with? I mean, I know you work with all groups. Do you find a difference between happiness, between the races, between the genders, between the ages?
Well, there's a difference between Gen Z, Gen X, and baby boomers, certainly in buying habits. there's a difference, right? But what I've found is that most men and women in the world want to live peacefully and in a peaceful existence wherever it is that they are.
Oh,
and
man.
What's that?
Nothing. Just persistence. I swear to God, she's just it's gotta be laughable. But go ahead, finish your statement. I love a persistent person.
Yeah.
It's funny as hell to me.
Yeah.
Oh man, go ahead.
No, but the difference is, there is a difference. There's a difference in terms of perspective, in terms of wherever it is that they are, right? Because some people may have lower self-esteem at a particular time and they need a boost, right? And they need a reminder of who they are and a reminder of their talents and what they can do. But like I said, most people just want to live peacefully amongst all people, wherever it is they are, and they want to grow to whatever their individual goals are. So, is there a group that I identify more with than others? Well, of course, there's some groups like Gen Xers, going through midlife crisis or midlife challenges, as I say, and having gone through that as well. I have an ability to help them through that. Helping veterans that are pre or post, pre-retirement, post-retirement, pre-deployment, post-deployment, retirement. There are different issues, right, that have to be addressed in that, and understanding and recognizing the differences, not only with the veteran, but the families of the veterans as well. Veterans are very, as I said, are near and dear to my heart because can you imagine having so much responsibility, especially if you're in a war zone, 18, 19 years old, and having rules of engagement that you have to go by, and being disciplined enough to do that, managing millions of dollars of equipment, but then coming back to the US and being thought of just any Joe Blow on the street and not given the same due benevolence and respect. You just cannot imagine the mental anguish that those veterans go through, having to put up with that bovine excrement when they come back. They were just in a war zone, having responsibility of an entire nation, and then coming back and then just and not being given the due benevolence. Those are the issues that veterans face, and those are issues that I think that need to be given more attention to in terms of mental health and just understanding and appreciation. So those are the groups that I help best, right? The Gen Xers that are going through midlife crises and veterans. But younger people, I mean, I reach out, I understand, their situations as well, but I can help them through their situation because the tools are the same. The tools are the same in many instances, but you have to be able to speak the language and have an understanding for someone to trust you.
So I didn't know this. So this is new to me. I just looked it up. This generation now that is born between 2011 and 2025 are called Generation Alpha.
Oh, they started to cycle over again. Lord,
yeah,
Jesus.
they are the first
Made it
generation
to
to
the
be
end.
born entirely in the
made it to
21st
the end.
century.
Lord Jesus.
So my question to you, because you have a father on the panel who has a 1-year-old, you have a new father to be in about 2 months. How can we raise our children to be happy?
Control how much social media and how much time they're on television, YouTube, Instagram, social media, because the people most responsible for the programming of a young child are the parents. And you have to be careful who's around your child and what's around your child. The vigilance level of parents today is astronomical because the formative years are very important. How your child is integrated into society. You know, I keep using the word program. Which it is. Train up a child in the way it should go. And I can't say it any better than that. Train up a child in the way it should go. And it's going to be based upon your values, and which is a good thing. And so, you know, I wouldn't want your job, but if I was given your job, that's what I would do, is I would make sure that I'm very vigilant in making sure that my child was trained and raised in a manner that was conducive to their mental health and happiness.
And that was one of the things, let me add to this. That was one of the things I had as an edict when I was married and my wife was pregnant and had children. It didn't make any sense to me to pay for childcare, to have somebody else instill their morals and ethics in my child at a cost to me, instead of her staying at home and putting our actual morals and ethics in our children by the way we raise them. So there's the rub when a lot of guys are like, oh, I'll let my wife. No, absolutely not. When she has a child, she needs to stay at home. You need to build the root or the base of the belief structure of your child initially before anybody else touches or interferes with them.
All right. I hear you. No. And this is where I'm really confused.
Okay.
I have not watched all of this video. I know what it's saying. So give me 1 minute. I know the gist of this video. I want to play it because this is where I'm confused at.
Okay.
And give me a second. Let's see. Share the screen. And you guys will know what it is when I play.
Oh, shit. I think I already know what this one
is. The black doll.
Oh, wait. Come on. Let me go back a little bit. Come on. Don't interfere with me now. Sorry, guys.
Which doll is the black doll? And which one is the white doll? That one. Which doll is the pretty doll? Which doll is the nice doll? Which doll is the bad doll?
This kills me every time, man.
Which doll is the nice doll? And which doll is the bad doll? And why is that doll pretty?
Because she's white and she has 2 eyes.
Which doll is the ugly doll? Why is that doll ugly?
Because he's black.
Wow.
Which doll looks most like you?
Like me?
Yeah, which one looks like?
And that one.
Okay.
That doll.
I say that to say this, Todd. What you said was keep them away from social media. I brought this up because this is over like 15 years old. This is before social media. These are young kids, and I want to say school age, but these are kids like 4 years old.
It's not before social media. It's not before social media. There's always been a form of social media. Television program.
TV. Radio.
Okay. The Jeffersons.
The ads.
The Jeffersons, what was the other one? Good Times.
Good Times.
Right? That's My Mama. Those were written by people that look like
Fred
us.
Sanford.
I mean, they were written by people that didn't look like us. My question with this video is this: who was the interviewer? Was the interviewer black or white?
White.
No,
So
that interviewer was. I think
He
the
was
interviewer
white.
was black. Even though, oh well, it could be. I'm sorry on that one.
Here's the question that I have. Sometimes there's something called the expectation theory where we will answer because we think that that's what the interviewer expects us to say.
Correct.
So we got to kind of look at some of these experiments with a grain of salt, or I won't say intuitively, but we have to ask the question, like I just said, because we don't know how those children were influenced. You take a young child that's at a school, right, and they have a white teacher, especially black boys, they have a white teacher, and they ask them a question. Sometimes they will just answer the question because that's what they think that the other person wants to hear. Now, I'm not saying that that's in this situation. I'm just asking that question.
Correct.
So,
but then I'm raising a child that is trying to make someone else happy. How do I get away from that? How am I going to train that child to make themselves happy? If it's, I have to please this white teacher, if I have to please this white
public
ball.
school is not the issue.
Yeah,
you need to teach your own child. Now you can homeschool your child. Your wife's at home anyway. What is wrong with her teaching your child through whatever educational system that you choose?
Yeah, and your child's going to be
at the end of the day, if you go along with the school system, the public school system is built to basically chastise and contain a child within the white power structure.
And the child is going to grow up wanting to learn to, it's going to grow up learning how to please the parents.
Yes.
Because there's the risk reward type of thing. I'm going to be told no, right? So what do I have to do in order to get what I want? I have to please my parents. I'm going to say please. I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to do all these things that we intuitively teach our children to be polite. And if they're polite, they get rewarded. So,
but then the other thing goes to this, Todd, is what were we taught when we were young? When we were around cops, you're already taught fear.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to act up in front of a police officer for fear,
right, that
they're going to do something or throw you in a jail. We were already taught fear is such a young. That's why I said every child in America that's black already suffers from some form of PTSD.
The trauma, yeah. Absolutely.
Because through the programming that we've gone through over the years, it's ridiculous. It's layers upon layers of damage that has been done to us through our parents who taught it, and from our great grandparents. That's been passed down. Old school corporal punishment and other things that go on with that, to how the system is set up to already downtrodden a child to disbelieve that they are worthy, and then also already guaranteeing to automatically answer what you know that you're expected to answer based on the society norms of what beauty versus ugly is.
Yeah, and to go back to the video, we don't know if it was edited.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? I mean, there's just so many questions. I'm not saying that it's
an objective or a narrative, but
exactly. I mean, I'm not saying it's not valid. I'd have to look at the study, right? And I'd also have to find out, well, who funded the study, because that becomes important as well. If we're talking about, a study that talks about raisins is healthy, well, we have to ask, well, who funded the study? Well, the California Raisin Company. Okay.
but we're talking about kids. You can take those same people when they grow up. We still have it. When you say, well, who can do hair better? Oh, black people. Who's more intelligent when it comes to math? Oh, Asian people. Who's smarter? This. Oh, white people. So, and that doesn't matter who the person asking the questions are.
Well,
it still goes to them.
I'm talking about in this study from the video. Okay, I mean those are that's supposed to be a scientific study that they're actually showing. So I'm just I'm questioning the science. I'm not saying it's invalid. I'm just simply trying to say, okay, how can we validate it? But when we talk about conditioning, remember I said at the very beginning, all men and women are created equal until they leave the hospital. Because when they go to their environment, now they're being indoctrinated with the values, mores of that neighborhood, of that family, or whatever it is. Who we let our kids around. Are we letting our kids around Uncle Ruckus? Or do they see who Uncle Ruckus is? Or are we how can we build the esteem of our children? And that is in the home. And that's your responsibility as the father.
Yes.
That you have to ensure that. And your wife certainly plays a role in that as well. I mean, co-parenting, but as the father figure, when we have these young boys that are going through, or young girls, even young girls, I mean, when they have their certain values, a lot of those values come from the father.
Correct.
Yeah. Did we read this last super chat from Darnell?
We did not. I'm sorry, Darnell.
Yeah, I think
you want to read it.
Thank you for the $5 super chat, Darnell. He is talking to Fearless. He says, the crab in a bucket, Fearless. If I got a boil in a seafood pot, then you're cooking with me. It's just the Matrix USA mentality, Fearless.
That's right. That is right.
I like that. That's yeah. And so here's an interesting thing about travel. You take a young person out of that environment and you move them, and they become traveling, and they see the different lifestyles, and they start asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
And when they ask questions, this is a learning situation. This is a learning tool, right? In most instances, when a father has a very good relationship with their child, that child tends to take on the values of the father, and in many instances tend to take on the profession of that father as well.
I agree.
So,
and when you say the environment, I remember when I was working, and if you know, you're from Cleveland, so if you drive down south a little bit, when you get to Cincinnati, there's a bridge that you cross from Cincinnati to Kentucky. But if you ever went down there, there's a bridge that you cross. It's over the Ohio River.
Yeah.
There's a female. She wasn't a coworker. She was maybe like a contractor client. And she was telling me about her husband. Her husband was from Dayton. A little thuggish, real thuggish in Dayton.
Yeah, murder capital at one point.
Yeah. She said that they had gone, like, say they went down to Atlanta. She said, man, they had the best of time. She's like, she didn't even know who this guy was. They were driving back, talking, having a great time. And she's like, he's jamming. She said when he hit the Kentucky Bridge, she said his hat went down. He laid back. She's like, his whole demeanor changed. Like none of what they just did 6 hours ago had an effect. It's like as soon as he crossed the bridge, that his whole mentality. So it was almost like that environment had him.
Yep.
Do you find that with people, like they can be something else, but that environment is just they're slave to the environment?
Oh, absolutely, because they want to fit into the community in which they're embedded in, right? And so the language, we call it code switching, right? Well, why are you talking white? Why don't you, why are you speaking this way? Why are you acting this way, right? And so that's part of the environment, right? I went to private school when I was younger. I grew up in the west side of my community, and got on the bus and went to a private school. And when I would come back during the week or the weekends, and when kids were all playing, why do you talk white? I didn't realize that language had a color.
Hello, I got accused of that as well.
And so, but you were treated differently because that was the mentality of the environment that you were in. Now,
right.
it was fortunate that my grandmother and my grandfather were sticklers on education. My grandmother read. I mean, she always had a book. When my grandmother was a maid for the president of the college that we lived near when I was younger for over 10 years, and then she sent herself to administrative college and got her degree. and later became an administrator in that particular college for 32 years. She and my grandfather stressed education. My grandmother would quiz me on word. Hey, is that a word? Well, I think
two full sets of the Encyclopedia Britannica sitting up in our house.
Exactly.
Two full sets.
And
there's only me and my brother. So I'm like, what? We had our own personal set? You know what I'm saying?
Right. So, but it was my grandparents that instilled a lot of that in me. Right. That was my environment, right? And like I said, my grandfather was next to God. So, I mean, if he said that the moon was blue cheese, yep, that's it. And you couldn't tell me any different. Was it delusional? Absolutely, because you believe in things that are not based in reality. But that was my grandfather. That was the word of God to me. And so whatever it is he said, that was it. Fortunately, that was the environment that I grew up in. And I was able to recognize differences where I went to different neighborhoods. And I was able to realize at a young age the lifestyle that I wanted. I always tell the story to people here. I said, when I was 13, I played on a soccer team. And, at 13, most African-American Black boys did not play soccer, but I played soccer because of the associations that I was in school. And yeah, exactly. And
I did that wheel kick a couple times. I wasn't scared. I did it.
Okay. And had a teammate that was from Colombia, and he had a sister that would visit, and I was like, this is what Colombian women look like. One day I want to have a Colombian wife, and how the universe works. It hears you and it listens to you, and it may not be at a particular point in time, but circumstances take place, and so now exactly. And so I'm happy, right? But it was the environment that molded me and shaped me. And I'm just very thankful for the values that my environment gave me. When you have and I told you, be aware of the player curse. So your responsibility is going to be double fold, right? But you can do it. But it's simple. It's just not easy. Toxic people, toxic environments, they're all around us. Why? Because most people, they bend to the negative. They don't bend to the positive, because it's easier to be negative about something. It's easier to be a victim. And if you're able to self-actualize first, then everything else becomes easier. And what I mean by that is, let your child know how important she is. Let her know where she comes from, who she is, and don't let anybody throw her off her square.
So when you were saying happiness, you're saying it now, but I didn't hear it before. Like the words of affirmation. Do you have people where do they say that to themselves? Meaning, like I've listened to Napoleon Hill, and one of the things he says is you wake up and you say, hey, this is my goal. This is me. So you're doing self-affirmation. Is that part of being happy?
I don't believe so. I think the secret, and I think that Napoleon Hill, I think that's junk science. It sounds good, but there's no empirical evidence that support it. But if it helps someone to feel good, if it helps someone to improve their situation, then I'm all for it. I'm a little bit different because I like to have receipts. I like to have stuff that's proven to work, as opposed to some theory that they think it works. Affirmations, when people use affirmations, they know BS when they hear it. Right. And so, words without actions and activity, it doesn't work.
Your mind knows BS when it hears it self-consciously.
But I still think it's powerful. Not that I disagree with you. I still think the words you say to yourself are powerful.
Well, yeah, you have to have positive. I think positive speech is important. But I think there's a difference between positive.
Not even speech. How you say something. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
You want a car, because I remember someone telling me this. The person who can't have the car says, there's an $80,000 car, you want it. And you say, man, I can't afford that. That's a thought process. Another thought process is, how can I afford that? Same car, same thing, but now when you say I can't, you've closed all mental processes of doing something.
Yeah.
When you say how can I, you've
Yeah.
opened up all avenues of how can I get there.
Well, that's an affirmation as well, right? I can't. Okay. Then you're not going to look for ways in which you can, because you don't have a sense of optimism. And that's what we're talking about. When we're talking about, in my view, when you're talking about positive affirmations, you're talking about optimism, right? And so, yes, it's great to be optimistic, but you have to have the requisite actions and activities. And sometimes with affirmations, by just simply repeating something,
it's not gonna make it happen unless you take action to make it happen.
Exactly. Just because it's on your ass, don't make it an asset. You have to have some action behind it. You got to put some J-Lo behind everything. Can't just be, yes, you can visualize going to the gym, and there is some value in that. But at the end of the day, you got to go lift the weight.
Correct. But do you think it's motivation? And I only say that because I hear people, you hear the hype music. I'm about to get it. I'm doing this and this, that hype where they're saying I can do this or whatever the case may be. And that just, they convince themselves so much that they started to convince others. And I only say that because I know this ugly girl that was in high school. She used to be like, I'm all that and this. And she would say it so much that a month later, I was like, man, maybe she kind of all that. You wouldn't realize it, but you started to be like, man,
maybe you were just a little desperate a month later. Maybe you were just desperate a month later, and you just
you would say there's something about her.
That was a Jedi mind trick. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been a whole lot of things. Could be testosterone. It could be dopamine. It could be a lot.
Maybe you were just a little hornier at that point.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It could be low hanging fruit.
Exactly. That could have been a beer goggle, end of the night club mentality type of thing. The last thing moving in the club when they saying closing hours at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, you didn't pick the chick that you wanted, and the one you wanted, she already walked out the door. So you want to hit something that night. Yeah, maybe you in that mode.
He could have convinced himself that, yeah, she's so ugly, so she, if she wants to,
I can put a bag over her head. You know the bag treatment.
Well, she not just gonna say so. I'll say it offline. I'm not gonna. I'll put it in the comment. I'll put it in the private comment.
Oh man.
So you don't believe in those affirmations. You believe in some type of action that gets you there.
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, affirmations sound good. The secret sounds good. And my question always is, show me the evidence, show me the empirical evidence. And here's the thing about empirical evidence. If I say this table's 12 inches long, whatever, I say the table's 5 feet long, I have to give you the ruler and you measure it to confirm
prove it.
That it's proven. That's the evidence that I'm talking about. You can't do that with positive affirmations. People say that it's subjective, but it's not objective in terms of provable.
Now, the one thing we do know about this, and science proves, the more times you repetitively say something, meaning more than 3 times, what are you doing? You're committing from short-term memory to long-term memory.
Correct.
So you go on a positive affirmation, all that's doing is cementing in your head that you need to start a plan to get there. But you still have to do it through action. Correct. You saying it is just going to move it from a short-term thing, like a thought, like, oh, maybe I want to do this, and what I need to do to get it. I'm going to say it 4 or 5 more times to get in my head so I can push myself to want to do it. But you still got to do it.
I would say, as opposed to affirmations, create a vision board.
Yeah.
Now, why do I say create a vision board? Because visualization, is important. That you can say, okay, I want this kind of house. Okay, well, what do I have to do to get this kind of house, right? And so you realize you put all these things together, then you start to make some sort of a plan. Or, I want to make $50,000 a month income. Okay, I can't just simply say, I'm worth $50,000 a month. I'm worth $50,000 a month. Okay,
You got to get the certifications, the experience. You got to get, the job that pays that amount, which is going to, so it's action. There's a lot of action behind those words.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, as I go back to scriptures, faith without actions is dead. Faith without works is dead, being alone. Must have the faith and the works, right? You can't just simply say it,
I just read the back chat. I'm sorry. Yeah, she probably is.
Okay. Well,
or again, she's a narcissist for real. She thinks she's the smartest thing that you can ever encounter. Nobody's smarter than her.
Yeah.
So narcissism.
And that's what I mean by positive affirmation. If you tell yourself so many times that you are smart and everyone else is below you in intelligence, you start to believe your own
delusion.
You're drinking your own Kool-Aid.
Right.
Yeah, that's where the delusional behavior comes in.
Well, Todd, I don't want to hold you much longer. We're going on 3 hours, brother. We have it here, but I do want to keep this at least once a month, some type of that. And we can pick a subject to talk about, because I think that the therapy session and mental health is very important to men, especially in today's age. Yeah. So I really think that men, especially, even women, in today's world with so many negative things that take place, you need something to say, how can I be positive? Because I've talked to Ronan about this. I would tell you, I had a page, and we talk about subscribers. In 2 months, I had 10,000 subscribers.
Wow.
It wasn't the material that I would want to show my daughter, but all of that crazy stuff worked. And so I've even told Ron, I said, man, I'm at a point where, do you go with the negative because the negative works, or do you try to stay positive when the message doesn't get out there? It seemed as though, Jerry Springer got a whole lot more views than Phil Donahue.
But who was on TV longer?
Yeah, but he was on for a long time.
Well,
but it was different
I would
eras.
have to say it's different eras. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's different eras where people cared about the message more than the drama. I mean, now people care more about the drama than the message.
It goes to the dumbing down of society.
Yes.
Right? I mean, there was what was the name of this movie? It was
Dumb and Dumber?
No, it wasn't Dumb and Dumber. It was something like Craziosity or something. It was with
did somebody come back in time or something like that?
They went back. They came back in time, and they found out that they were drinking Gatorade out of the toilet or something like that. And I forget what it was. Craziosity. I think that was the name of the movie. Craziosity. Where what happens is that we don't celebrate intellect. We celebrate simplicity, right? And we have the elites versus the non-elites. And what do the elites appreciate? Intellect. And so typically the people who are the wealthiest amongst us are the intellectuals. They were the nerds that were in school that nobody wanted to holler at, right? And now most of us who were athletes, the most of us who were popular, the most of us who were the best looking, we're working for the nerd.
Yeah.
And so there's a dumbing down of society, right? And so we
But actually, some of the dumbing down is they switched our nerds as leaders to our athletes and our stars.
Correct.
Our performers.
Yeah. I mean,
no longer is the intellectual the leader. All of a sudden, the by edict or something, just because you might be bigger or stronger means you're smarter. When did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, we celebrate the quarterback. For example, we say, okay, who your team won the Super Bowl? Kansas City won the Super Bowl. Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. Who's the owner?
3 times.
All right. Congratulations. Yeah. But do the players make more money than the owner?
No, absolutely not. They still the owner.
They're high-paid employees, you know, and they're well-paid employees, but they don't make more money than the owner. And you know, LeBron James has a fantastic career, you know, shoe deal, but they don't make more money than Phil Knight. Michael Jordan don't make more money than Phil Knight. Phil Knight, do you want to be Michael Jordan or Phil Knight that signs a contract? Be Phil Knight. Be the one you're able to sign the contract to pay someone this amount of money, because you're going to make tenfold that. Does that mean Phil Knight is happier than LeBron James? I wouldn't know, but I'd like to find out. Right? You know, you'd like to be able, but you know, research says that, you know, anything more than 75,000 doesn't mean that you push the needle to, you know, to more happiness. Okay, the evidence shows that, but I would still like to find out for myself.
By the way, I did not block you, Zed. There's mods and everybody else in this room that blocked you. I didn't have to block you.
I don't block Zed because I am a firm believer that if you let a what is it, better remain silent than be thought of a fool than speak and remove all doubt. She speaks and removes all doubt. So I let her talk as much as she wants, because the more that she talks, the more people say, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah, I don't block people. I just let them run off at the mouth and say what they want to say. It's not going to deflect from who I am as a person or individual. All it does is show true to who they are as an individual.
Correct.
Because
I'm
whatever
going to
you
show
say
this
to me
because
does
Todd,
not
I
make
do
me-
hope that you come next week. We're going to have the female back again.
The female, you know her name?
I don't want to say her name. I'm going to say the Georgia.
She had a
Peach.
makeup name. I think her name was Georgia. Yeah, she went with Georgia.
Peach. I'm going to have her on, and this is what she's going to be talking about: men suffer in silence. So it's going to be about male depression, male anxiety.
That's one of your better AIs, brother. That shit.
You like that one, don't you?
Yeah. You even got the skin pits in the skin and everything, man. That's damn good.
Yeah, but you know, the donkey is going to say it's a black man on there, and you showing a black man with tears. You're a black man hater.
Hey, Ron, I'm gonna ask you, man. Can you pull up Johari window before we head out?
Johari window.
The Johari window. I put it in the back chat.
Oh, okay.
Is there a website, or is it just Google it?
You can Google it, and you can pull up a chart about it, because we were talking about self-evaluation and know thyself, right?
Did you want to do it, or you want me to do it?
I'm looking for it.
Okay.
The blind spot. There's one they're kind of different.
But yeah, it should be a column of 4. Or
right.
not a column, but
a box.
There's some that's simplistic.
Boxes.
Should be a box.
Yeah. Open area, unknown area, blind spot, hidden area.
Yep.
Any one of those will do.
Yeah.
Just pick one.
Yeah, let me here we go. Give me 1 second. Some just added more than others. So know thyself. Okay, give me a second. I'll bring that up.
So how do you all know this? You call it's Zed? That's what it is?
That's her name, yes, is Zed.
Okay.
It's a longer name, but that's the letters that she uses out of her name because she's Ethiopian. So she says we couldn't.
And actually, I don't know why she talks about my man Ronan. She actually wants Ronan to be her brother-in-law. That
she said her sister likes me. I don't know.
Her sister loves him, and and wants him to join the family.
I can't even speak to that.
Well, I mean that strikes me as odd, because my understanding of Ethiopian culture, that this behavior would be anti-cultural.
That is our understanding also.
Yes.
Okay.
I was chastised for talking about her culture.
You were chastised for it.
Yes.
And what I find even, and this is why I say the narcissistic or the unhappy, where do you get the happiness? If your culture is suffering, your culture does not like LGBT, it doesn't like feminists, it doesn't like all these things. And instead of you going and changing your culture, you try to come somewhere else and talk bad about another culture. And it's like, well, why not take care of your house first before trying to
Those that live in glass houses can't throw stones, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So
and
that's crazy. That's crazy. So
tell us about this chart that we're looking at.
Johari window is a way that you can really evaluate yourself. That the open is what you know and what other people know. Your blind spot is what you don't know but other people know.
Before you go to each one, just give me an example of one. I know open, like well, I'll let you give me an example.
Okay, well, it's something that you know something about a person and that person knows about themselves. The blind spot would be that person doesn't recognize something about themselves, but other people do, right? This person is toxic. They may not recognize that they're toxic because they don't want to be honest with themselves.
And is that blind spot example, like you have a relationship? Because I heard Kevin Samuel say this when he says, have you asked your exes why they break up? Because I might say, oh, I'm this, but my exes say something else. Is that my blind spot?
That could be your
Blind spot. Or it could be a tell. Say you tell a lie, and all the time you tell a lie, you pull on your ear first.
Exactly.
People pick up on that. You don't realize you're doing it, but everybody else sees you doing it.
Right.
And every time you do that, all of a sudden a lie comes out your mouth. And people start giggling at that point because it's an obvious tell, but it's your blind spot.
And so the hidden part is hidden from you and hidden from someone else. That it could be something that you evolve into, right? So that could be a part that's evolutionary. And then the unknown is something that you don't know and other people don't know either. So that is called the Johari window. We're talking about when someone is doing some self-evaluation. I'll give you another example of a blind spot. My wife, she said that when I wake up, the first thing I do is I might go to my cell phone and do something, work or something like that. And that was a trigger for her, right? So it was something that I had to kind of take notice of in order to change the behavior so that my wife wouldn't be triggered. Why was she triggered? Because she wants me to be healthy. She wants me to sleep and be healthy and all that stuff. But that was a blind spot for me. I didn't see how it may have been impacting my health. She saw it, but I didn't. The hidden part would be I didn't realize, nor did others realize, how resilient I was in the face of a hardship, right? That there's a certain level of strength and resilience that I can exude when faced with hardship. And that was hidden, but now it's become known, right? And then unknown is just something I may not have experienced yet, that, it's just unknown, something about me until I have that experience. So
now, how does this window help me become a better me? Or is that the purpose of it? Maybe that's not the purpose.
Well, again, okay, like at the top, it says know to self and known to others, not known to self, but known by others, right? Not known by others, not known to others, right? Known to self, and then not known to everyone, so to anyone. So the idea is that you have to be honest with yourself, right? And evaluate yourself. And I think that if you use this in conjunction with Ichigai, I think that you cover at least 90% of understanding what your values are. Right. Okay. And so, I mean, you could use this in terms of what kind of father you want to be based upon your values and your purpose, your sense of purpose. And by using this, you can develop a playbook, so to speak, in terms of how you want to go about your parenting. And this is something that you can work out with your wife to really solidify what your goals are, how you want to raise your child in the environment that you want your child to be in. Most people don't do that before they have a child. They just, there's no owner's manual and they just wing it.
Now, do you need to do this with someone else? Because I can see someone doing this to themselves and lying to themselves.
Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it would be, I think, doing both, because most people are afraid to be honest with themselves.
Yes.
And most people, a lot of times people do things in obscurity and it's hidden. And when it comes to light, now they're all stressed out, and now they're, trying to figure out how they can either lie their way out of it or mitigate the consequences. Right?
Yeah.
So it's simple. It's just not easy. Why is it not easy? Because being open to yourself is hard.
Mm.
And a lot of times happiness doesn't come about until we forgive ourselves. A lot of times we say we have to forgive others, but a lot of times people don't mention that you have to forgive yourself. Correct. And a lot of times that, we've done things in our lives because, as I said before, that we've been conditioned, right? And then once we understand what has happened, we can, we feel sorry about it. We feel some sense of apologetic about it.
Right.
But a lot of times it's not your fault. A lot of times it's not your fault, and so you could forgive yourself for it, because you've been conditioned or trained to behave a certain way, and this thing happened, and you feel all this guilt. But you know what? I mean, yeah, you did it, but it's not your fault.
Correct.
Ron, and I know you could speak more to that than I can at this point, because I can't imagine what you've been through. I cannot imagine what you've been through. But when you get to the point where you can say, hey, you know what? I love you and I forgive you, and you're saying this to yourself, that's when the healing starts, right?
And believe me, when I got there, I gave a lot of shit away. Clients, money. Nothing was important to me besides for my mental health.
Yep.
And that's when I really started doing the work.
Yep.
And it was after my second divorce. And I had a buddy of mine, he was making well over $500,000 or better. He was a Marine too, in a Gulf War. We were both successful in Transamerica and other insurance companies. He was running an agency that had almost 6,000 agents.
Wow.
So he was a VP level insurance agent within the company. And the minute his last daughter went to college and moved out the house, I told him what I went through, and he was solid at that point. The minute his last daughter walked out that house, it hit him.
Mm-hmm.
His purpose went out the door with her.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was just him looking at himself with his wife.
That's hard. Some people can't do that. All of a sudden,
it started coming back. All the things we had regressed and suppressed and compartmentalized from back in the war to now.
Mm-hmm.
All those things we were taught to compartmentalize. All the doors started opening up.
Yep.
All at once. I gave away 3,000 clients. I ran an agency that had almost 300 to 400 people in it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't give a damn about money at that point. It was self-preservation, and that means I need to take care of myself first. Client would call me. I would drop everything for a client. I never turned my cell phone off. I would charge my cell phone with it on.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never know when somebody's going to die, or they're going to run into a hospital and they're going to need your assistance in order to have access to this or that. How many people died on my watch? How many people I had to deliver life insurance policies to and talk to them about, hey, don't do this with your money because it's tax-free, and all these other things I had to consider dealing with my clients.
Yep.
All that became priority over everything I was doing for myself. So at the end of the day, in order for me to heal myself, I had to let everything go.
Mm-hmm.
I started over, literally. That's why I say we have lifetimes.
Yes.
And certain times you have to fucking purify yourself in a lake of Minnetonka. As Prince says, go jump in Lake Minnetonka. Purify your ass. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to do that. Nothing is more important than your health, your mental health, your physical health. Nothing is more important than that. And when everything else starts to take priority over yourself, The only way to do that is anything that ever took priority in front of you, get away from it. Get away from it. Give it away. Sell it. I don't give a fuck what you do with it. Get away from it.
Yep.
Until you become the priority again.
Exactly. Well said. Well said. I mean, it's that this place does not exist if you're not here, right? Because you have no awareness of it if you're not here, and the world is a better place because you're here. You know, just think of how many people how many lives you've impacted in a positive way. That if you weren't here, that never would have happened. You know,
exactly.
So, I mean, I commend you for the work that you've done, bro. I know it wasn't easy, you know.
By the way, I had one final poll, and the question, I was having faith in people. I mean, it was a battle. This last poll, it ran for an hour. It says,
but I think, and I know you're going to do it, but I think
significant other stress you out if you lost your job.
Say that again.
Would your significant other stress you out if you lost your job? And the answer was no, 54%, and yes, 45%. So the no's, meaning they're marrying some good women that are going to stand by them regardless if they got a job or not. I'm like, yo, what's going on? We got some dudes that really got some solid significant others. Now, you guys got the 45%. Y'all might want to seek help. Counseling.
Here's a question.
This is what happens to men, just like your friend, just like you, just like the people who don't support. We suffer in silence, man.
Right, we do.
Well, here's the question I have. How many of the participants in the poll were women talking about their husbands?
None, because most likely I have all men in my room, beside for the random Zed that comes in.
Okay.
So, yeah,
and that's she answer more than once?
No, you can only answer once. I'm
just asking scientific questions.
Yeah, on the YouTube polls, you can only answer once. So
right, that's good stuff, man. Good stuff. You know, I appreciate you guys, man. I mean, iron sharp as iron, man. You guys help make me better. I appreciate you.
We love it. I hope that, as I said before, the starfish story. So maybe we're not here to change everybody, but if we made a difference to that one person, you know, I think we made a difference to Darnell, and we made a difference to that tiger, the one that.
Which one?
The one that kept saying, "I'm not going. The grass is green."
Oh, I thought you were talking about the little other red tiger that's over in the other room. I'm like, yo, not maroon tiger guy. No, you ain't made no difference, and he's still as silly as ever. Well, you got a male feminist running a woman's room, so I don't get that correlation.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, Fearless.
Yes, sir.
So this conversation that we've had, has it changed your mind or added to anything for you?
Well, I have been changing behind the scenes on a lot of things. One where, especially when it comes to happiness, that's like, I don't have to debate and be in those groups anymore, because I was in that. And what kind of legacy I want to leave. I had already gotten to the point where, and I had to have this conversation. I had to have, I'm going to tell you, I don't know where we were driving to. I bet we were driving back. We were driving back to Ohio. And I kept trying to explain a story to my wife. And I said, sometimes I just let the story play. So the story was The Alchemist. And if you remember that, have you ever read The Alchemist? If not, I'll give you a synopsis.
I haven't read it.
I haven't read it.
The Alchemist is a gentleman who he's born in a place, and they tell him that there's gold or treasure somewhere else. So he has to leave his location to go find this treasure. And it tells about that story. Now, all throughout his journey, he meets people. He meets a girl named Fatima, I think her name is. He meets her, falls in love. And, he's like, man, this is where I want to be. I think a genie comes to him and says, let me tell you how your life will be. You'll love her for 2 years. On the 3rd year, you'll start to resent her. By the 5th year, you'll start to hate her. The reason is you'll look at her as the person who stopped
you from your goal,
from getting to your dream.
Mm-hmm.
Along the way, he helps people out, and they try to keep him. He like goes to a place where he's selling these glass materials. He improves it, and the guy's like, "I'll pay you this. I'll keep you here." And he has to keep going. He goes all the way to where he gets a map to where he thinks the treasure is. I don't want to tell you where the treasure is, but it was very close to him from where he started. And the moral of the story would be, and how I seen it was, even though the treasure was close to him when he started, he had to take the journey.
Before he
the
could.
journey was necessary to go.
Mm-hmm.
So as I would tell my wife when she said, "Oh, you got to travel, you got to do this," I said, that is my happiness. If you stop me from doing that, if you stop me from exploring and being who I am, you may have prevented something temporarily, but I'll grow to resent you. I'll grow to dislike you. I'll see you as that person who stopped my dream and won't let me pursue it. Now, if I go all the way out here and I find out that my treasure was here by my side all the time, that's great. Let me have that discovery. But if any time during that process you eliminate it, I'll happen. So I had to deal with my happiness first. And that was the conversation we had there. I said, look, I'm going to let you know something. I'm going to choose me over you every time. I've put myself in positions where I've tried to make other people happy to my own detriment.
Yep.
I'll never do that again.
Nope.
If you don't want to be on board with it, I'm fine with that. I won't stop you. But I know that in order for us to be happy, I have to do this journey and I have to do it. That is one end of it. Also, what I've gotten from this conversation is there's certain tools that I can do to not only work on myself, because I've seen it. I'm a person who, when I said, do you lie to yourself? I'm almost sure that I do. And you know, because the wife will say, like you, the first thing you do in the morning isn't turn and kiss me. It's turn to get to your phone. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I ain't do that. Me? I turn to you, you asleep. So I think we lie to ourselves in some things. And that hurts us. Another thing is, I think even Black Man Travel said, what is important to us? And I brought that case up about the memories, because I think we put so much emphasis on, I need to work this extra hour, I need to do this. And even the wife said it. She said, you haven't said anything to your daughter. And I'm like, well, damn, she in your belly. What am I supposed to say to her? But to her, those are the memories that she's already establishing now.
Right.
And so I need to step back and say, okay, those are the things that are important now, because that can set the path.
Those are bonding techniques.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
So I think all those things are important. And that's what I've taken from it, to say, sometimes your happiness is you, but also sometimes your happiness, you go to soccer. Why do you do soccer? Because you are putting a smile on somebody else's face. That act there made you happy. Yeah. The fact that you could bring joy to someone else was your happiness. So I think that's another part that I learned, that, you know, listening to you saying, hey, well, maybe it's not always about me. Maybe it's the joy I can bring someone else, you know. And I think even when we talk about relationships, I think that's why guys, when you hear a woman say, I've been here, and I've been here, and guys like, yeah, I'm not really interested in her. Because sometimes as a male, we want to be the person who brings you that joy, who brings you that experience. That makes us happy inside. I think some of the other things that we covered with the questions that I asked was, you know, and sometimes I ask those questions like I asked to Darnell, it's somewhat self-reflecting. At what limit are you happy? You know, does this much money make you happy? Because I've had that, meaning I've had it where I've gotten the car, the motorcycle, the house, the this. And I was like, man, I've accumulated stuff and it still didn't change me. I've been where the person QB was at. When I remember I used to have this Nissan Altima. I was like, well, when I get rid of this Nissan Altima, I get that Benz, I'm gonna be able to do this.
Right.
And then you realize that, and then I would see a guy in the old Cutlass that had the ceiling falling down on it, and you know, he had a fine girl in the car. I was like, how can this dude get this? And he has way less than what I have. And then I had to realize that that's just stuff. The confidence comes from within. And to say, you know, those are the things that I need to change. And how do I pursue that happiness to get there? And to take those tools and say, all right, this is what makes me happy. How do I eliminate the things that alter my mood? Because I think we don't do that enough, where we have all of these mixes of all these negative things that come, negative things. And sometimes it's elimination. And we're afraid to eliminate, we don't eliminate, or we entertain that, or we think we can change it. I think we entertained Zed because in some portion, and Rona and I are guilty of this. We had a debate with her. And in our mind, we thought, well, if we bring these facts, or we say this and we say the truth and bring this forward, that it's undeniable. And you realize it doesn't matter what you say. That sometimes we were the crazies. You know how you said when you argue
we were
with
the tiger. We were the tigers.
Yes, we were the tigers.
Arguing with the donkey.
Arguing with the donkey. And so I love that story because it shows that I was the dumb one in that instance. And my wife would say it 1,000 times, like, you the fool. You are the fool. And I think that a lot of people do that, where we are the fool in doing it. So I want to take those steps. And that's why I think it's important to bring you on. Yeah. Because there's somebody out there, and I'm gonna bring you up, Darnell, if you got a few more minutes, because I think Darnell may have a question. He's in the
and he is the sponsor of the night, I think, on both of our channels with all the super chats. I appreciate you, Darnell, especially on my channel, brand new monetized channel that it is. One thing I wanted to say, and why I kept on doing this, is there's so much energy in a touch. There's so much bonding in a touch. You guys just don't know. Everything in the known universe resonates at a certain megahertz, from the earth to the animals to you as a human being. There is so much power in your touch, especially when it comes to a child that's not born, because they're in water. And if you're a battery and you're a resonating heat, there's energy coming from your hand into that child. Don't think little of that. It means a lot. It means a lot. All right.
So Todd, I'm going to ask you, what did you get out of this, sir?
That the important thing is having conversations, right? And listening to where other people are. And having a level of empathy. Some people, when they're in a comfortable space, like Black Man Travels, he felt comfortable enough to share with us some of the reality of where he is. And I think that as men, we need to have these spaces more often. It's a safe space where they can feel supported, and more importantly, they can be heard as well as seen, you know, and that's sometimes I miss that, because being out of the country, I'm not as connected as I'd like to, even in this kind of environment. So I'm very appreciative of this environment. I'm appreciative of both of you guys, you having me on your show and allowing me to express some of the things that I'm doing and possibly help some people. But this is doing more of this is something I have to do more of, right? Of just being present. Not necessarily, I may not necessarily have to say something, but just be present, because you just never know who's watching you. You just never know.
And you'll be surprised.
I think that was
I've gotten plenty of WhatsApp calls way odd times of the day. All of a sudden, I'm getting a WhatsApp call like, "Yo, you have a second to talk?"
Right.
Yeah, yes. Like, what's going on? No.
And I really want to commend Black Man Travels Canal, because I don't know, to be honest, I don't know if my ego would allow me to do that. No, and I'll say it because just think about it, he has a Facebook, he has his Facebook, he has his blog, he has his YouTube channel. He's a person who's made over 6 figures. He's talked highly, and just say, hey guys, I just lost this. That takes a lot of energy, a lot of self-assurance, a lot of, I wouldn't even say pride within yourself. He took ego out of the game. Mm-hmm. And it's a humbling thing when you hear it. But it's an empowering thing, because can't nobody say, oh, you don't have this. Yeah, I already said that. I already said what I lost. Mm-hmm. And I've been where you're at. That was powerful for somebody to do that. And I know why I wouldn't do it. I don't know why. The vulnerability. Mm. The vulnerability. Mm-hmm. And I think that's even why men are afraid to tell women certain things, to look by being vulnerable, because somebody knows a weakness. Somebody knows something about you. It's that Achilles heel. Mm-hmm.
It is, but a lot of women have broken that vulnerability trust with a lot of these modern men, and that's the problem with that part of it. You're being vulnerable to the wrong person.
Yes. Yes.
Now vulnerability in a room full of men, as far as a source of strength, is different. But being vulnerable to the wrong type of woman can tear you down.
Oh, yes. They use that against you. And that's why I said how his wife responded to his situation told a lot about him, told a lot about her, and tells a lot about the situation. Mm-hmm. Because when my wife says, I'm like, we've been there already. I mean, we start off there. So because we laugh on the back end when people are like, she's with you for your money.
You the minute you got money. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, bruh, you have no idea.
Been there, done that already. What you talking about? We've been at the bottom. This is the reward.
Yeah, but we laugh.
Yeah,
because I have a new car now, and a few new cars, and we laugh, and I say, when people say, "Oh man, I see you driving this," I said, "Man, you don't understand." Look, she told me, she's like, you know how embarrassing. Well, we just had this Toyota Corolla, and because I was like, man, I'm quitting everything, and the muffler was so low it would mess up. You had to get a zip tie, like the zip tie to zip it on, so it wouldn't hang down and make the loud noise. And she's like, man. And I said, hold on, man. I'm going to be at a certain place. You just got to roll with me. And so when people say she couldn't be there when you didn't have nothing, I'm like, bro, where you think we came from? Right. I gave all that up to start anew. And when you say, Ronan, I think what you said that was powerful was you live different lives. Mm-hmm. That was one life that we were living. And we had to die in that life to be reborn like that phoenix and rise up to the other life. Mm-hmm. But that transition is the hard, and that's the one thing people don't like to go through. That transition is the hardest part to go through. To go through that hard, to go up.
They fight against it when they should be rushing into the flames to be reborn. They're fighting to death.
That's a Marine Corps concept, man. Run to the fire. Come on now, man. Come on. Most people aren't trained for that.
It's that fight or flight mentality, man. You're a badass until the first round goes off. Then you're the bitch underneath the table while the other guy's running towards the fight. You know what I'm saying? So,
what was it that Mike Tyson said?
Everybody talks shit until you get wrapped in the mouth one time. Then you really figure out who's the man in the fucking room.
Yep. Yeah.
Darnell, what you got to say to close it out, sir?
I just want to say that yeah, fearless.
Brett,
You
you
and
coming through real strong. What you going to CB radio or something over there? What you doing? Back away from the mic, sir. Back away from the mic.
Okay, hold on.
No.
How's that sound?
Okay, that's a little too far, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'm just messing with you a little bit. We appreciate you.
Yeah, no, like I said, I appreciate y'all, and definitely fearless, Ronan. Both of y'all have been very instrumental, in my mental health, and with not giving up on my goals or my dreams. In fact, Ronan, I don't know if you remember this, but one day out of the blue, I wanted to talk with you offline and ask you for advice.
Right.
And how it started. I was actually on Razor Ray's channel when he interviewed that guy, the coach. I think Coach John. I think his name was the guy that got in a fight with Deion Sanders' son.
Oh yeah. He knows a lot of people. Yeah.
Well, it turned out, he's living in DR, and guy was broke. He his only source of income is, SSI, or I'm sorry, SSDI, which only pays about $1,400 a month.
Right.
Yet he's living comfortably, 2-bedroom apartment. He said his apartment is nice. He has money at the end of the month, and he says, "Hey, I'm living comfortably." Because I was thinking, I mean, it's been my goal to live overseas for years. I mean, ever since I went to Brazil for the first time back in 2011. That was the first time I went. I made up my mind. Hey, I'm moving overseas. The only thing was I kept trying to stack money. I wanted to have so much money.
Right.
And Ronan, you were the one that was I had all, I don't know if you remember, Ronan, but I had so much fear that I don't have enough. I told you my net worth, I told you what I got, and you're like, dude, that's more than enough.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get scared. We get in our own ways. We make up excuses of why we won't do something.
Yeah.
Paralysis by analysis.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I've never heard that, but I like that. I'm gonna have to start using it. I'm gonna steal that from you.
It wasn't mine.
From him. He just said it. He stole it. But go ahead.
It's a real thing.
Right.
But like I said, I talked to Ronan. I believe I actually talked to Traveling Tony first. Shout out to Traveling Tony. I talked to him first. He's out there in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking like, I asked him. I was like, hey man, I wanted to have like $1 million, at least $1 million in the bank. He's like, dude, there's, I told him my net worth too, and he was like, nah, man, you good. I mean, you good. Even if you came down here, I think I said I could come down there with, immediately with, at that time, I think about 200 and.
Stop giving out numbers on the phone. Yeah, when we were in the back chat, that's one thing. You live right now.
Mm-hmm.
Got you. I got you. But the point is, I gave the numbers and said what I can come down with immediately. He's like, oh, dude, that's more than enough. And then I talked to Ronan just to be on the safe side. Always get a second opinion. I talked to Ronan. Ronan, you said the same exact thing. That's more than enough.
Confirmation. That's what got you get confirmation like that.
Exactly.
You got two different people from two different environments that have no driven cause to lie to you. You hear the same word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then you got to take it as gospel. And like I said, I really appreciate you guys, and
No problem,
like I said, you guys keep me motivated. Even when things aren't going my way, it's like you keep that fire. It It may be a ember, just a small little ember, but you keep that fire going.
And that's the thing I was telling you guys earlier is like, you got to go in those dark places and be a light to guide people out of that fucking darkness to you. You can't wait for them to come to you. You got to go and find them and bring them out of it. So you saw me jump on panels. I've gone on all kind of panels and just sat there and said what I needed to say and pull people one at a time.
Oh, absolutely.
One at a time.
Absolutely. I just wish people, like Zed would see that. You know what I'm saying? See the positivity.
I don't care to impress Zed. That doesn't matter to me. Even her own sister has a desire for me, and I don't even know the lady. She saw me one time. Is like, that's a good dude. What a contradiction from her sister, right? Look at Drew. Drew, you a hater, man. He said, too late, Ronan. Fat pockets Darnell. Let the cat out the bag now. Everybody know you got bags of money. See?
I don't have bags of money. I'm not rich.
Okay, well, they're assuming now. You know how they do.
Yeah. Like I said, they can assume, but trust me, I am not rich.
Right.
But the thing is that and I like that video. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have to clip that with the lion and the donkey.
Don't do the children one. There's an Asian monk on my YouTube shorts. It's got the same story. It's already in my shorts. Just scroll down my shorts. He's telling the story about the monkey and the tiger. I mean the donkey and the tiger.
Yep.
Don't use that kitty story. Don't do that to yourself.
Okay.
Well, sometimes Ronan, when you're talking to children, you got to show a child story.
Hey.
Oh, is that how you're going to treat your people? Is that how you treat your listeners? You calling them children?
That video was not. It was for a listener, not listeners.
Oh, it was for that one person, the donkey herself, huh?
Make it so the goats can get it.
Right.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
So, Todd, do you have any final words that you want to give out? Because we don't want to hold you too much longer.
Yeah, I just got
extend out. I don't want to hold you.
I just got a notification that it's about 11 o'clock here. So
I already know.
Yeah, my hall pass is over with. So
it's been revoked.
Yeah, but I just want to say that it's important that we realize who we are, and that we are what we continually do. So if we want to live a life of excellence, we have to have actions at all times. To be able to become habits. So. That's just important, and I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the viewers, your subscribers. I want to encourage people to subscribe to Ronan's channel, also the Fearless's channel. These are just good guys, good brothers, and they have good topics, good conversation, and this is what we need. I appreciate you guys in this space. Thank you so much for allowing me to participate with you this evening.
Oh, we appreciate you coming.
Well, we got to schedule something. Therapy Thursday, brother. Thursday.
We'll definitely see you back on the channel for real.
Yeah, this is a excellent segment. I'm glad you guys are doing this, and because there's a whole lot to unpack. Maybe you can go a little more in depth into dopamine. The dopamine effect, addiction, causes of addiction. The feeling of the need to numb out. These are a lot of the things, especially black men being feeling trapped. Right. I used to live in Detroit. There was a liquor store on every corner. A liquor store on every single corner. Couldn't go shop for groceries, couldn't do nothing, but there's always a liquor store there. Yep. And it had, and you would wonder why crime and everything was so bad up in Detroit. All people could do was literally, it was such a depressing place. All people could do was just numb out to every damn thing.
Yeah, by design.
Yep. And there's so many things that we
go
didn't
to a gun
hit,
store and do something stupid, because there's gun stores as well.
Yep. Well, Todd, we appreciate it. We still got some things that we got to hit next time. Education. We didn't even hit on education and health.
Yeah.
And lifestyle. So there's a lot of.
By the way, there's another topic that our other therapist, she might not want to tackle. She kind of avoided it for this.
But she just said it was too much. She's going to hit that
She's
another
scared.
time.
She might need some reinforcements because we're talking about son husbands and breaking that tradition of son husbands.
I remember. Do you guys remember History of the World Part 3? Mel Brooks.
I remember the movie, but not necessarily Part 3. But I do remember History of the World series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy's name was Oedipus. Is it? And Josephus. Josephus Oedipus says, "Hey, Josephus," and he says, "Oh, hey, MF." So I remember that. That brings that to me with a sense of humor, dry sense of humor. But yeah, that she's going to tackle it. I'll be surprised. I'm going to be honest.
No, she will. She just wanted to do. She wanted to do this. The suffering silence, because I think I said I wanted to switch from, and I won't go too far into it. I want to switch from the women point, to focusing on the men point. And then what I told her, hopefully none of her people are listening, was that she got a lot of backlash from her fellow not co-workers, I would say. What was
she did?
Yes, because it was, this is, you kind of let them talk or say this. And I said, all right, here's what I want you to do. We're going to now focus on the men. And then I want you to show this same video to the females that you just spoke to, and ask them if it was unfair then. And if it's not,
she
then
felt like we packed up on her, like they felt
or that our views were a certain way. So I said, when you show them the opposite one, ask them, is their response going to be the same? So then if their response is coming from emotional or actually intellectual. Because that's what a lot of people they get emotionally involved into it, and not intellectual.
We already know what that is. So.
Yes, yes.
Well, as I said, I mean, I would be surprised if that topic ever comes up again. I mean,
no, we will.
I bring that up very often. Believe me, it's one of my I talk to for real. I talk to it all the time because a lot of young men need to understand the difference.
Well, honestly, I think that a lot of that contributes to why men suffer in silence. I really do. I think that's a contributing factor.
You guys should bring up Esther Vilar. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that name, but she wrote a book like way back when in the 70s describing about men suffering in silence.
How do you spell Vilar?
I think it's Vilar, I believe.
Esther Vilar.
Yes.
Manipulated man.
The manipulated man. That's it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a very excellent. Matter of fact, have your therapist friend, have her read it and see what she thinks about it. I'm very curious.
It's gonna be required homework before she shows up because we're gonna hit her over the head with it if it's that good.
The main idea behind the book is that women are not oppressed by men, but rather control men to their advantage. Ooh.
Ooh-wee.
Can of
worms.
She was red pill before there was red pill. Okay, before there was Rollo Tomasi, before there was anybody, it was her, a woman.
It says, she quotes, men have been trained and conditioned by women.
Hello, single mothers. What did I say?
And she goes in hard. Let me read the whole quote. She says, men have been trained and conditioned by women, not unlike the way Pavlov conditioned his dogs into becoming their slaves.
Oh no,
As
he didn't just call us dogs
for their labor, men are given periodic use of a woman's vagina. Damn, that woman. Man.
Systematic.
Yeah, it sounds like a quote. I would quote that before the question. Well,
See, that's what she wrote. Man.
Well, I just hope that she wasn't castigated by her colleague. Were these her colleagues or people that just
colleagues? That was the word I was looking for. Colleagues.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like her colleagues are dishonest.
Disingenuous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, when you think about it, a lot of female therapists and doctors, a lot of times they are biased. I mean, when you think about it, what is the first thing, a woman that really wants to divorce her husband, what do you think she does? Let's go to counseling. Let's go to see a therapist, and she's looking for confirmation or affirmation, hearing the words, yeah, you should get a divorce. And a lot of times she'll say the therapist said this. Yeah. So it's just not going to work between us. Yeah.
We might have to review this book, Darnell. I see some excerpts of her. We might have to come on and and let her speak about it and just review this book.
Yes.
Because I mean, she deep. She got some things in the end. It says she closes by saying, it is up to men to see past a woman's deception and emotional blackmail and subjected to open criticism before any meaning changes can occur. So she's saying that women are using their sexuality and stuff to basically blackmail men emotionally. Man. She was Myron Gaines and Fresh and Fit before it was.
I'm telling you.
Sounds like that's what that girl in high school was doing to you, man.
Oh, she was, man. She had that testosterone up. She had a lot of people fooled too.
Guys, I'm gonna.
All right, brother. You have a good one. I'm gonna play your outro so that everybody knows your credentials as we leave here.
Appreciate it.
We're not leaving. Are we leaving? You ready to go to bed? You gotta go to bed.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the evening's most electric live event, the one and only evening therapy session, brought to you by the Fearless Podcast and co-hosted by our very own Ronin Travelers. When these two powerhouses join forces, the conversation is going to be exciting, informative, fun, and oh yeah, blunt as ever, no holding back tonight, folks. And tonight, we got a special guest who's going to bring the fire. We're talking about the one and only Todd Allyn. This guy isn't just a life coach. He's a seasoned professor with over 24 years of experience in business and economics education. He's been a college dean, a program manager, and get this, played a major role in launching the Jack Welch School of Management. If that ain't impressive, I don't know what is. Todd is the founder of Happyosity, a revolutionary coaching program that blends positive psychology, neuroscience, and personal development. This ain't just feel-good stuff, people. This is science-backed transformation to help you achieve life balance, mental resilience, and high levels of success. Tonight, he's here to unlock the secrets of why having it all doesn't always mean true happiness. So, if you're wondering why despite all the money, cars, women, and so-called success, you still don't feel truly fulfilled, well, my friends, you come to the right place. Get ready to dive deep into what's holding you back and learn how overcoming those limiting beliefs is the key to unlocking a life of joy and prosperity. Buckle up and settle in. It's time to turn knowledge into action, build your legacy, and live a purpose-driven life. Don't miss this chance to catch Todd Allyn in the flesh right here on the Evening Therapy Session, episode 2. The mic's about to drop, people. Let's go.